Chapter 1933. Although Yan Hanwu didn't know what kind of treasure it was, it definitely wasn't simple since it contained fortune energy. How could ordinary treasures contain fortune energy? Therefore, Yang Hanwu didn't think that Shanhai Guanyue and Tai Tulong could kill Yi Tianqing together. The more mysterious and powerful a treasure was, the more variables it could produce. Just like Yang Hongwu's scroll of fortune and life seal, they could erupt with great power at the critical moment. If Yi Tianqing could mobilize the qi of creation in that treasure, it would produce an unexpected effect when he fought with others. Fortune Qi was extremely mysterious and profound. Only Dao Lords were able to control it, not even half-step Dao Lords were able to do so. The reason Dao Lords were so strong was because they had comprehended supreme fortune. Fortunately, it was not a complete treasure of creation. If it was a complete treasure of creation, Yi Tianqing would not have been able to obtain it. Young Master, Yi Tianqing's strength is merely at the intermediate ruler realm. Although the two of us haven't recovered from our injuries and are still at the intermediate ruler realm, we are still one realm higher than Yi Tianqing. If we join forces with the Shanhai City Lord, it won't be difficult for us to kill Yi Tianqing. Why does young Master not think highly of us? This was also what Tai Tulong was curious about. Since Yang Hanwu had said so, he must have his reasons. He wouldn't have stopped the two of them for no reason. Yes, sir. Although that bastard is strong, there's a limit to it. 1,000 years ago, that bastard was only an early-stage ruler. Although he's broken through now, there's a limit to the increase in his strength. If it weren't for the sake of being absolutely sure, I could kill him alone, Shanhai Guanyue said. Shanhai Guanyue said. 1,000 years ago, if Yi Tianqing had not escaped quickly and destroyed the transmission formation, he would have become a soul under his hand and died in his hands. He has a treasure with a mysterious origin. Even I don't have absolute confidence in being able to take it away. This is a variable. Yang Hanwu narrowed his eyes. In my calculations, I can't allow any accidents. We must get the planar boat fragment. I don't want any accidents. To Yang Hanwu, even that supreme treasure that contained the power of fortune was incomparably precious, but it couldn't compare to the fragments of the incomplete planar boat. Although a supreme treasure of fortune was precious, it wasn't as useful to Yang Hanwu as the planar boat fragment. If an accident happened and he couldn't get the planar boat fragment, then all of his calculations would be for naught. It would be meaningless to Yang Hanwu. Therefore, Yang Hanwu wanted to succeed in one strike. He couldn't act rashly. He had to make sure nothing went wrong. The two looked at each other and didn't say anything. They couldn't figure it out. Although the planar boat was a supreme treasure, it was just an ordinary treasures. It was useless. Do you have any ideas, young master? Shanhai Guanyue looked at Yang Hanwu. The Lord of Shanhai City and I will attack together with you. How about a thunderous strike? Tai Tulong said. If the three of them attacked together, no matter how powerful Yi Tianqing's treasures were or how powerful his trump cards were, he wouldn't be able to resist. Yang Hanwu thought about it and nodded. This was the safest and most reliable method. However, before that, he needed to set up a formation. However, the incomplete supreme treasure of fortune in Yi Tianqing's possession seemed to have a special function. Yang Hanwu didn't know if Yi Tianqing would discover him when he set up the formation. Of course, the possibility wasn't high. After all, when he and the others were teleported to the chaotic astral ocean, they were able to hide from Yi Tianqing's perception. If Yi Tianqing's supreme treasure of fortune had such a function, he would have discovered them long ago. In fact, what Yang Hanwu didn't know was that Yi Tianqing had indeed felt a trace of spatial fluctuation, but it was only for a moment. However, Yi Tianqing was cultivating and didn't pay too much attention to it, so it was just a trace of spatial fluctuation. There were various forces in the chaotic star ocean. Every day, many people from the outside world would enter this place. There were also many people who had comprehended spatial laws. From time to time, there were even young geniuses who discovered the bloodline talent of space. This was normal. Therefore, Yi Tianqing didn't pay much attention to this little fluctuation in space. Wait here. I'll go make some arrangements. Wait for my orders. Yang Hanwu said to them. Yes, young master. The two nodded. Anya Shen and Pan and I didn't say much. They knew that they couldn't disturb Yang Hanwu. Yang Hongwu's figure disappeared from the spot. Not long after, Yang Hanwu returned once again. It only took a few breaths of time. Even Mountain Si Guanyue and Tai Tulong couldn't see what Yang Hanwu had done. They were both late-stage sovereigns. Although they hadn't recovered, they were still equivalent to mid-stage sovereigns. However, they didn't even notice what Yang Hanwu had done in the span of a few breaths. From this, one could see how powerful and terrifying Yang Hanwu was. In fact, Yang Hanwu had already set up a formation around Tianqing City in the span of a few breaths. It was the greatly improved isolation formation. Yang Hanwu had improved this formation many times. Now that it was set up, not even a half-step Dao Lord could break it. Only a true Dao Lord could break it in a short time. After all, a Dao Lord was an existence that mere sovereigns couldn't imagine. Without reaching the Dao Lord realm, one wouldn't know how powerful a Dao Lord was. No matter how hard one tried, it was impossible to imagine how terrifying a Dao Lord was. Thus, even though Yang Hanwu was confident that his formation would be able to stop a half-step Dao Lord for a short period of time, he wasn't confident at all that it would be able to stop a true Dao Lord. Yang Hanwu wasn't even confident that he would be able to stop it for a single breath. As his strength increased, Yang Hanwu increasingly felt the terror and power of Dao monarchs. Even Dao monarch Shigu was truly unimaginable. Yang Hanwu was probably like an ant in his eyes. Perhaps Dao monarch Shigu had seen everything that Yang Hanwu had done. This made Yang Hanwu feel somewhat helpless, but there was nothing he could do. However, this was just a guess. The space has been isolated. Let's enter Tianqing City. Yang Hanwu said to Mountain Si Guanyue and the others. Are we going to attack? Mountain Si Guanyue's eyes flashed coldly. Young master, you must leave that bastard Yi Tianqing's life to me. Chapter 1934. At this moment, Yi Tianqing was in the city lord's residence in Tianqing City. He was restless and couldn't enter a state of cultivation. What's going on? Is something big going to happen? Yi Tianqing frowned. This was an unprecedented feeling. There must be a cause and effect. Are those three bastards joining forces? The four great cities of the Chaos Star Ocean were divided. They could be said to be four legs of a tripod. However, up until now, the people of the four great cities had never acted. Although each side wanted to annex the other, they didn't dare to act blindly without thinking. That was because they were worried that once they acted, the other side would rebel. They would be schemed against and the gains would not make up for the losses. The one who hated Yi Tianqing the most was Luo Yuexiong of Luoyu City. Back then, he had conquered Luo Yuexiong's territory and developed Tianqing City. Therefore, among the three city lords, Luo Yuexiong was undoubtedly the one who hated him the most. Although the chaotic astral ocean was rich in resources, it was limited. The four major cities had already made the chaotic astral ocean's resources insufficient. Especially after the discovery of three spirit mines, the atmosphere was getting tenser and tenser. Tianqing City now had the territory advantage and occupied the largest spirit mine of the three. As a result, it aroused the fear of others. Most importantly, Luo Yuexiong, who was originally the strongest, didn't have a spirit mine. This infuriated the conflict. He had a bad premonition because Luo Yuexiong was about to make a move on him. If it was just Luo Yuexiong, Yi Tianqing wouldn't be too afraid. However, if the three city lords joined forces, he wouldn't be able to resist. Men. Thinking of this, Yi Tianqing became more and more nervous. He didn't want to die. A cold light flashed in his eyes. If they wanted to attack him, they had to have the strength to do so. The reason why Yi Tianqing had such a trump card was that he had a supreme treasure. This supreme treasure was extremely powerful and could contend against a late sovereign realm expert. At that time, as long as the three city lords didn't attack him at the same time, he would be invincible. If the three of them joined forces, as long as he could seize the opportunity to cripple one of them, he would be invincible. City Lord. A black-robed man walked in. Shadow Kill, you have been my shadow for 1,000 years, right? Yi Tianqing looked at the black-robed man in front of him. Yes, City Lord. If it wasn't for you, I would have died 1,000 years ago. The black-robed man said. Recently, I've been feeling restless. Someone must be plotting against me. Something big is going to happen in Tianqing City. I suspect that Luo Yuexiong and the others have joined forces to attack me. So, I'll give you a mission. Yi Tianqing waved his hand. This information was transmitted to the black-robed man. The black-robed man nodded and disappeared. At this time, what Yi Tianqing didn't know was that everything about him was exposed to Yan Hanwu. What piqued Yan Hongwu's interest was that the black-robed man wasn't simple. That fellow wasn't an ordinary person. In other words, he wasn't a human at all. Instead, he was a foreign race. He was a black shadow mystic snake in human form. His strength was comparable to an early sovereign realm expert. If it was an ordinary person, they wouldn't be able to discover it. However, who was Yan Hanwu? He cultivated the Nine Heavens Divine Dragon technique. The black shadow mystic snake had the bloodline of the Dark Dragon clan. Naturally, it couldn't hide this bloodline in front of Yan Hanwu. It was because of this that Yan Hanwu was able to tell that the black figure was not a human even without using his Dharma Eye of Annihilation. Interesting. The corners of Yan Hongwu's mouth curled up into a smile. Seeing Yan Hongwu smile, the people around him couldn't help but be curious. They asked, "Young master, what made you so happy?" Did young master discover Yi Tianqing's weakness? At this time, discovering Yi Tianqing's weakness could save them a lot of trouble. This was the happiest thing. Something like that. Yan Hanwu felt that Yi Tianqing wasn't simple. This guy colluded with the sea race exotic beasts, which wasn't something an ordinary person could do. As a human, if he was found to have colluded with an alien race, it would cause terrible trouble. He might even face the hatred of the entire human race and become the target of public criticism. Only those with boundless strength who could ignore many experts could have such confidence. Moreover, no matter what kind of cultivator, no matter how evil he was, as a human, there would always be a bottom line. Even the devil of the human race wouldn't easily collude with an alien race. However, Yi Tianqing dared to do so, which surprised Yan Hanwu. He had some doubts in his heart. Could it be that this guy was also an alien race? He wasn't a human at all? This was not impossible. Here, Yan Hanwu didn't doubt that he could activate the Dharma Eye of Annihilation easily. Because, when he was on the island outside Shanghai City, Yan Hanwu had a bad premonition, which made him wary. Moreover, the Dharma Eye of Annihilation was feared by many experts. If it was known by others, it would be very troublesome. Let's do it. Yan Hanwu said. Okay. Seeing that Yan Hanwu didn't say what was going on, they didn't ask anymore. With a thought, Yan Hanwu and the others disappeared on the spot. The next moment, they appeared not far away from Yi Tianqing. At this moment, Shanhai Guanyue and Tai Long both too long had already launched an attack on Yi Tianqing. If it was an ordinary person, they wouldn't be able to react at all. However, Yi Tianqing's reaction speed was unexpected. The moment the three of them made their move, he had already reacted and instantly cast out a defensive weapon. A supreme treasure blocked the attacks of the three people. Although he was still in a hurry, he still managed to block the three attacks. However, the three of them joining forces was no small matter. After all, Yan Hanwu and the other two were strong, and Yi Tianqing wasn't a late-stage sovereign realm expert. Even if they were strong, they would still be able to deal with him. Even though he had a supreme treasure, he was still badly injured. When Yi Tianqing saw who it was, his eyes were filled with fear. Looking at the two people in front of him, Yi Tianqing took a deep breath. In particular, Shanhai Guanyue was a thorn in his heart. He had always been worried about him. If he wasn't afraid of Shanhai Guanyue, why would he destroy that formation? He was worried that Shanhai Guanyue would come to kill him. The other person was also someone he was familiar with, Tai Tulong of Iron Mountain City. He was also strong, but Shanhai Guanyue and Tai Tulong had joined forces. This surprised him even more. He knew very well that Shanhai Guanyue and Tai Tulong had always been enemies. Chapter 1935. However, what Yi Tianqing didn't know was that Tai Tulong and Shanhai Guanyue weren't the scariest ones. The mastermind was Yan Hanwu, not Shanhai Guanyue. However, in Yi Tianqing's eyes, it was definitely Shanhai Guanyue who came to find trouble with him. After all, she hated him to the core. "You were..." "Shut up, you don't deserve to call me that." Shanhai Guanyue was enraged when she heard Yi Tianqing's words. This bastard dared to call her "you," how despicable. "I know you hate me, but you can't just find yourself a gigolo." Yi Tianqing was a smart man. At this moment, he knew that he was in big trouble. The reason why he felt uneasy before was because of Shanhai Guanyue and Tai Tulong. If the two of them joined forces, they could really deal a fatal blow to him. Moreover, he couldn't figure out how the two of them came here from Shanhai City. One should know that the teleportation formation was destroyed, and the chaotic astral ocean hadn't been connected to the outside world for so many years. They couldn't cross the ocean to come here. This was also the reason why he could become one of the 4 city lords of the chaotic astral ocean in just 1,000 years. If it wasn't for the fact that the chaotic astral ocean was cut off from the outside world, it wouldn't have been easy to control. Yi Tianqing's words had also angered Shanhai Guanyue. She didn't expect that he would still dare to provoke her at this moment. "You bastard, you're courting death." Shanhai Guanyue was furious. Although she was angry that Yi Tianqing spoke ill of her, she was worried that Yang Hanwu would be unhappy. That would be troublesome. She didn't want Yang Hanwu to vent his anger on her. "How dare you, Yi Tianqing? How dare you spout such nonsense? Are you tired of living?" Tai Tulong scolded. As he spoke, Tai Tulong and Shanhai Guanyue launched another attack. 2 powerful auras rushed towards Yi Tianqing. Both of them didn't hold back and attacked with all their might. Yi Tianqing didn't feel surprised when he saw the 2 angry men. He knew that saying this would definitely anger Mountain Sea Watcher. What he wanted to do was to anger him and make him lose his mind. Only then would he have a chance to win the war. Therefore, he was prepared to face the 2's all-out attack. With a wave of his hand, a shield formed in front of him. There were ancient runes and restrictions on the shield, and it blocked the attacks from Shanhai Guanyue and Tai Tulong's attacks. What kind of treasure is this? Both of them attacked him. Ant's attack was more powerful than the previous attack. But this time, they attacked's attack. Although Yi's was prepared, he was prepared, but this attack was S'attack's, this attack, the attack S attacks this attack TSS attack. This showed that this treasure wasn't that simple. Even though the 2 of them had yet to recover their cultivation, their combined attack was still extremely overbearing and terrifying. Even a late-stage sovereign wouldn't be able to withstand it so easily. "Step aside. Let me do it," said Yang Hanwu. "Sorry to disappoint you, young master." Both of them didn't look too good. After all, both of them had said that they could easily take down Yi Tianqing. But now, they couldn't even break through Yi Tianqing's defensive treasure. How could they not be depressed? "It's all right." Yang Hanwu smiled and didn't mind. The defensive shield contained a wisp of the power of creation. This wisp of power of creation formed a defensive restriction in runes, which surprised Yang Hanwu. In fact, although the ultimate treasure contained the power of creation, it was an incomplete ultimate treasure of creation after all. It did not contain much power of creation, but it could be used to form a rune restriction. In this way, the ultimate treasure's defensive power was quite terrifying. This was something that even Yang Hanwu hadn't expected. Although he possessed the power of creation and could even use a portion of it, in reality, the power of creation wasn't of much help to Yang Hanwu. The reason why he could be so powerful and be able to fight regardless of his level was because of the life seal, his special cultivation technique, and his powerful physical body. Now, Yi Tianqing's defensive treasure of creation allowed Yang Hanwu to see another way to use the power of creation. The power of creation that he could mobilize was much more than that of Yi Tianqing's treasure of creation. If he used it properly, his strength would be greatly improved. "You pretty boy, are you going to attack me?" Looking at Yang Hanwu, Mountain Sea Watcher, and Tai Tulong's attitude towards Yang Hanwu, Yi Tianqing was shocked. Mountain Sea Watcher and Tai Tulong's cultivation was very terrifying and powerful. However, the two of them were so respectful towards Yang Hanwu, as if they were treating him as their master. Yi Tianqing originally thought that this guy was Mountain Sea Watcher's pretty boy, but he didn't expect this to be the case. At first, he wanted to send a message to his subordinates, but he couldn't do it. This space seemed to be sealed off, which worried him a little. However, after using his treasure to easily block Mountain Sea Watcher and Tai Tulong's attacks, he felt confident. But now, he vaguely felt a sense of danger. If Shanhai Guanyue and Tai Tulong had been at their peak and were late-stage sovereigns, he would have been extremely wary of them. However, after exchanging blows with them, he realized that their cultivation had indeed fallen. They seemed to have been injured and had not recovered. They were only mid-stage sovereigns. This was the most important reason why he had been able to block their attacks so easily with the help of the Supreme Treasure. Since the danger he felt was not from Tai Tulong and Mountain Sea Watcher, then it must be from the young man in front of him. This young man's cultivation was only at the Divine Emperor realm. He hadn't even reached the Emperor realm, let alone the Sovereign realm. How could a young man who hadn't even reached the Sovereign realm give him a sense of danger? Moreover, it was a life-threatening danger. He couldn't understand. Chapter 1936. At that time, he vaguely felt that Shanhai Guanyue had also discovered the power of the treasure. Moreover, he felt that his breakthrough depended on the treasure. If Shanhai Guanyue also knew that the treasure could help people break through, he would not be able to stop her if she wanted to take it. It was precisely because of this that he had completely fallen out with Mountain Sea Guanyue. However, everything was as he had expected. This supreme treasure had allowed his cultivation to improve greatly. Now, he even felt the opportunity to break through again. But what he had not expected was that this supreme treasure would allow him to break through. However, he did not expect that Shanhai Guanyue and Tai Tulong would come with this young man. However, this young man made him feel an unprecedented sense of danger. How could a mere Divine Emperor realm cultivator be like this? Could it be that this young man had an even more powerful treasure? Thinking of this, Yi Tianqing's eyes flickered with greed. It was not the young man himself that could make him feel threatened. Then, it must be the treasure that the young man had. If he could take that treasure from him, he might be able to break through the bottleneck and control the entire chaotic astral ocean. He knew that there was a huge secret in the chaotic astral ocean. This secret was related to the treasure that he had obtained. However, he was not strong enough to control the entire chaotic astral ocean. It was impossible for him to open that huge secret. Kill him. Kill him, think of a way to kill him. However, Yi Tianqing also knew that with the help of Tai Tulong and Shanhai Guanyue, it was almost impossible for him to kill the young man. Even if the young man did not use that mysterious treasure. Therefore, his only way was to provoke the young man and make him lose his mind. Then, he would unleash his strongest attack to kill the young man. Yang Hanwu looked at Yi Tianqing. Of course, Yang Hanwu knew what Yi Tianqing was thinking. This guy wanted to provoke him so that he could find a chance to kill him. However, he was too naive. You have something in your hand. If you hand it over, I will let you die in one piece. Yang Hanwu looked at him and said. His tone was calm, but it gave people a sense of majesty. Yi Tianqing's eyes were filled with killing intent when he heard this. This guy dared to be so presumptuous. Boy, what gave you the courage to be so arrogant? How dare you be so arrogant? Yi Tianqing looked coldly at Yang Hanwu and said, if you know what's good for you, kill yourself here, and I can leave your body intact. Otherwise, I will destroy your soul and turn you into ashes. Annihilate. Yi Tianqing was the city lord of Heavenly Star City, and his status was lofty. For so many years, no one had dared to be so presumptuous in front of him. Even the city lords of the other 3 cities in the chaotic Star Ocean didn't dare to be rude to him. A divine emperor warrior dared to disrespect him in front of him. How could he not be angry? He really doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Does he think that he can do whatever he wants with a mere treasure? Yan Hanwu smiled. You are afraid. Afraid that I, Shanhai Guanyue, and Tai Tulong will attack you together. Yi Tianqing panicked. He had to admit that he was indeed worried. If Tai Tulong and Shanhai Guanyue attacked him together, he wouldn't be able to defend himself against Yan Hanwu. He felt a sense of crisis. Not from Tai Tulong and Shanhai Guanyue, but from this young man. If Shanhai Guanyue and Tai Tulong attacked and Yan Hanwu launched a sneak attack, he would definitely die. Even if he had a powerful treasure, he wouldn't be able to withstand it. What a joke. This is my territory. Why would I be afraid? Moreover, with just the 2 of you? Yi Tianqing snorted. If you were at your peak, I might be afraid. But now, it's impossible. Yan Hanwu smiled. This Yi Tianqing was just putting on a brave front. Master, this bastard is too arrogant. Let's kill him together. Shanhai Guanyue was furious. How dare this bastard be so arrogant? Although the 2 of them were repelled, it was because of a defensive treasure in his hand. Therefore, without that treasure, even one of them would be able to crush him, let alone the 2 of them. Yi Tianqing's expression changed slightly when he heard Shanhai Guanyue's words. If the 3 of them attacked him together because of his words, it would be like going for wool and coming home shorn. Yan Hanwu shook his head and looked at Yi Tianqing. You don't have to be afraid. I don't need others to intervene to deal with you. As he spoke, Yan Hanwu moved. With a wave of his hand, a ball of flame appeared in his hand. This ball of flame was the karmic fire of the Red Lotus. Moreover, outside the karmic fire of the Red Lotus, there was a strand of special energy. Qi. The defensive treasure in Yi Tianqing's hand was a talisman restriction formed by the Qi of Fate to block attacks, while Zhou Bao used the Qi of Fate to form a restriction-breaking talisman to break through the talisman restriction of the treasure and burn it with the hellfire. Of course, Yan Hongwu's attack was not limited to this. If it was just this attack, it would be too simple. After all, Yi Tianqing was a sovereign realm expert. How could he be defeated so easily? You want to deal with me with such a small flame? Yi Tianqing did not feel any danger from this ball of flame. Moreover, for him, no matter how powerful the flame was, it could not break through his defense unless it was the legendary origin of creation. Only the origin of creation could break through the defense of his supreme treasure. However, the flame in front of him was not the legendary flame at all. He did not need to be afraid. Therefore, Yi Tianqing was looking for an opportunity. The moment Yan Hanwu approached him, he would launch a thunderous attack and kill him directly. However, what happened next left him completely dumbfounded. The ball of flame broke through his defense in an instant. His supreme treasure's defense had even blocked the combined attack of Shanhai Guanyue and Tai Tulong. Not only that, it had also injured the 2 of them. However, he did not block it. He blocked the small ball of flame. When the flame came into contact with his body, he realized how terrifying it was. The flame had directly ignited the karmic fire on his body. The karmic fire of the Red Lotus was the legendary karmic fire of the Red Lotus. He knew how terrifying the karmic fire of the Red Lotus was. He was caught off guard and was injured. Moreover, the flame was still spreading. Chapter 1937. Damn you little bastard, this is a soul attack curse. Damn it. Yi Tianqing kept cursing and scolding. This damned little bastard, no wonder he gave off such a sense of crisis. It turned out that this little bastard could use soul attacks and karmic fire of the Red Lotus. Indeed, the combination of these 2 attacks was too terrifying. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to withstand it, not even sovereigns. Once they were burned by the karmic fire of the Red Lotus, they would have to find a way to extinguish the karmic fire. However, doing so would give the enemy an opportunity to attack them. Once the enemy used a soul attack, it would be a fatal blow. Humph, this is only the beginning. Yang Hanwu made a grabbing motion with his hand and snatched the supreme treasure from Yi Futian's hand. It was a supreme treasure of fortune. My treasure! Yi Tianqing shouted. He had never dreamt that this supreme treasure of fortune would be taken out from his body. What kind of method was this? It was simply unheard of. Damn you, I'll kill you. Seeing that his supreme treasure was taken away, Yi Tianqing rushed towards Yang Hanwu recklessly. His eyes and arms were red because of the karmic fire of the red lotus. Soon, Yi Tianqing looked like a cooked prawn. His whole body was red because of the karmic fire of the red lotus raging in his body. Are you going to go all out? Yang Hanwu narrowed his eyes. He did not care at all. On the other hand, Shanhai Guanyue and Tai Tulong were worried, especially Tai Tulong. If Yang Hanwu died, he would not be able to live. Shanhai Guanyue was better off. Even if Yang Hanwu died, she would not die. At most, her cultivation would be damaged and she would suffer a little backlash from the contract. Master, be careful. However, they were still worried. After all, they did not want to see anything happen to Yang Hanwu. It would not be good for them. Of course, Pan and I and Anya Shen were the most worried. However, they had complete faith in Yang Hanwu. Women were blind. In their eyes, Yang Hanwu was now incomparably powerful and there was nothing he couldn't do. It doesn't matter. This guy is just a clown. He's not worth mentioning. Yang Hanwu smiled and looked at the crazy Yi Tianqing. He didn't care at all. Just as Yi Tianqing was about to appear in front of him, an invisible barrier blocked in front of him. Formation. Damn it. This damn formation. You little bastard. I'm going to kill you. Yi Tianqing roared and attacked the formation madly. He had completely lost his mind because Yang Hanwu had snatched the supreme treasure away from him. He didn't even care about the karmic fire and the curse in his body. His whole body was burned by the karmic fire, and the terrible pain made him suffer unspeakably. Moreover, the stinging pain in his soul made him even crazier. However, the madness only lasted for a while. The pain in his soul and body finally woke him up. He glared at Yang Hanwu and focused on dispelling the karmic fire and the curse in his body. Of course, he didn't dare to do it with his full strength. He still had to pay attention to Yang Hanwu, Tai Tulong, and Shanhai Guanyue. After all, if they attacked while he was dealing with these two troublemakers, he would be in big trouble. TSK, trash. Yang Hanwu sneered. How dare you be so arrogant with your little cultivation? Old bastard, you can't dispel my karmic fire and curse. Yang Hanwu sneered as he held the supreme treasure of creation in his hand. It was a jade talisman. Yang Hanwu had seen many talismans, but he had never seen a jade talisman that contained the power of creation. What exactly did this jade talisman contain? However, in the next moment, Yang Hanwu was shocked because this jade talisman had integrated into his body and entered the scroll of creation. This made Yang Hanwu extremely surprised. He didn't dare to believe it. This thing was actually one with the scroll of creation. After integrating with the scroll of creation changed and turned into a picture. Creation mountain and river painting? Yang Hanwu took a deep breath. This was unbelievable, really unbelievable. This was the legendary creation mountain and river painting. However, this creation mountain and river painting was still incomplete. Yang Hanwu vaguely remembered that this was related to the creation mountain and river painting. This creation mountain and river painting was the same as the Great Seal of Creation. They were both supreme divine objects. Although they couldn't be compared to the legendary creation Heavenly Gate, they weren't too far off. It was a pity that the difficulty of obtaining the complete creation mountain and river painting was no less than the Great Seal of Creation. Puff! Now that the creation mountain and river painting was successfully integrated, Yi Tianqing's soul mark on it was naturally destroyed. As a result, Yi Tianqing suffered another serious injury. He spat out a mouthful of blood and looked dispirited. He was once again injured. It could be said that this was a serious injury. Moreover, it was a serious injury to his soul. It would be impossible for him to recover without hundreds of years. Who the hell are you? At this time, Yi Tianqing had already suppressed the hellfire and the soul curse. However, because the supreme treasure was taken away and his soul mark was erased, he naturally suffered a great backlash. As a result, his injuries worsened. Although the hellfire and the soul curse were suppressed, it was impossible to completely remove them in a short period of time. He could only suppress them. At this time, Yi Tianqing truly felt the terror of Yan Hongwu. At this time, he finally understood why Shan Haiguanyue and Tai Tulong were so respectful towards Yan Hongwu. Who am I? Yan Hongwu chuckled. That's not something you should know. If you hand over what I want, I can leave your corpse intact. If outsiders saw this, they would definitely think that Yan Hongwu was too arrogant. Previously, Yi Tianqing was also like this. However, at this time, in Yi Tianqing's eyes, Yan Hongwu's tone was only natural. He was strong. In the face of absolute strength, anything he said or did was actually natural. What do you want? Yi Tianqing asked. At this time, Yi Tianqing knew that he couldn't defeat Yan Hongwu. So, he could only find a way to rely on external forces. Perhaps, he would have to expose his identity. He didn't expect to reach such a point so early. What a pity, what a pity. After thousands of years of planning, he didn't expect that his plan would be broken so easily. However, there was no other way. He didn't want to die. The dimensional boat, Yan Hongwu said. Chapter 1938. You just want the planar boat. Why didn't you say so earlier? Yi Tianqing couldn't help shouting. Not only that, but I also want your life. Yan Hongwu said, I promised Shan Haiguanyue that I would let her take care of your life. I'm a man of my word. Yi Tianqing was infuriated. Good, very good. Do you think you can defeat me? Yi Tianqing's eyes turned red, and his chi kept changing. I know your trump card, Yan Hongwu said indifferently. You're just an alien. How do you know? Yi Tianqing couldn't remain calm after hearing this. No one knew that he wasn't a human except for himself and Yingsha. Yingsha wouldn't leak this information unless he was caught and had his soul stolen. However, the soul-stealing secret technique wasn't something that ordinary people could cultivate. Moreover, if Yingsha's soul was stolen, Yi Tianqing would be able to sense it. Yingsha didn't seem to have any problem, which meant that Yi Tianqing wasn't the one who leaked the information. Yingsha didn't leak this secret. As for Yingsha, it was even more impossible for him to leak this secret. In this case, there was only one possibility. His secret identity had been discovered. Thinking of this, Yi Tianqing took a deep breath. This person could see through his secret, so he was definitely not an ordinary person. Moreover, he was only a divine emperor, but he had such terrifying fighting strength. Where did he come from? Was he a disciple of a Tao Lord? Or was he a disciple of Zhiga? Did he come here just to gain experience? Yi Tianqing was very worried. In fact, the sky-reaching continent was an inner world of Zhiga. However, this inner world wasn't closed. In other words, as long as one had the ability, one could enter here to gain experience. However, no one could enter here. Generally speaking, those who came here couldn't hide from Zhiga. As for the real experts, they wouldn't come here. He had once learned a secret. Anyone who reached the Tao Lord level would be sent out of Zhiga's divine palace by Zhiga. As for the disciples and juniors of Zhiga's enemies, if they entered the divine palace, Zhiga wouldn't do anything to them. Of course, the majority of them were killed by the self-defense organization's disciples. Only a very small number of them managed to survive. In reality, Yi Tianqing was the servant of a descendant of one of Zhiga's enemies. They came here to search for a treasure. This treasure was the key to dealing with Zhiga, as well as the supreme treasure of that clan. This race was known as the Celestial Monster Tribe, and their supreme treasure was the Celestial Monster Dao Sword. When the leader of the celestial monster tribe had battled against Forsaken Spear and been slain, the celestial monster Tao Sword had vanished. It was very likely that it had been suppressed within Tao Lord Forsaken Spear's inner world. Moreover, it was most likely suppressed within the Divine Hall of Self-Defense. Yi Tianqing and Ing Sha were servants of the Heavenly Demon Clan. In fact, the Sea Tribe exotic beasts in the Skyspan continent were the descendants of the clan leader who had died. Even Yi Tianqing himself didn't know much about this. His memories of the Heavenly Demon Tribe were in a sealed state. Only after he obtained the Heavenly Demon Tao Sword would these memories appear. At this moment, Yi Tianqing himself didn't know. However, in the depths of his consciousness, there was a mission, to find the Heavenly Demon Tao Sword. The reason why he had taken the planar arc was actually to make it easier for him to find the celestial Taoist sword. Unfortunately, the planar arc he had obtained with Shan Hai Guanyue and the others had only been fragments. They had not obtained a complete seat. The planar arc. I can tell. Yan Hanwu said. Don't even think about summoning the Sea Tribe here. I've already sealed off this place. No news can get out. Sir, you're not joking, are you? Mountain Sea Guanyue and Tai Tulong were shocked by Yang Hongwu's words. They'd never imagined that Yi Tianqing was a member of the Sea Tribe. It was hard to imagine. How could the Sea Tribe not be exposed? Moreover, Mountain Sea Guanyue and Yi Tianqing had once been Tao companions. Of course it's true. After Yan Hanwu finished speaking, he looked at Yi Tianqing and said, hand over the planar boat and kill yourself. I can promise to leave your corpse intact. You're dreaming, Yi Tianqing said coldly. Even if I die, you won't get the planar arc. At this moment, Yi Tianqing had tried many times but couldn't get the message out. He knew that he was powerless and would die for sure. Since he knew that he was going to die, how could he let Yang Hanwu succeed? With that, he took out something. It was the planar arc fragment. I'd rather destroy it than let you have it. Seeing the planar arc fragment in Yi Tianqing's hand, Yang Hongwu's eyes flashed. Then he disappeared. In the next moment, Yan Hanwu appeared in front of Yi Tianqing. With a grab, he shattered the planar arc in Yi Tianqing's hands. He couldn't even react in time. It was too fast and too terrifying. This time, Yi Tianqing was completely disheartened. The only thing that could threaten Yang Hanwu was gone. But soon, he regained his composure. Although he was prepared to die, he still wanted to fight for a chance of survival. If you dare to kill me, you'll die a horrible death. You'll suffer revenge. Yi Tianqing looked at Yan Hanwu and the others and said coldly, since you know that I'm not a human, you must have seen my true form. My race is not something you can imagine. Similarly, if you kill me and cause my mission to fail, all of you will suffer terrifying vengeance. So what? Yan Hanwu said coldly. After saying that, Yan Hanwu stretched out his hand and a huge furnace appeared. This was the devouring furnace. The devouring furnace erupted with a terrifying devouring power, which crazily extracted the power from Yi Tianqing's body. Yi Tianqing couldn't resist it at all. If they were in the outside world, Yi Tianqing might be able to resist for a while, but at this time, Yi Tianqing was seriously injured. His soul and body were seriously injured. In addition, he was in Yang Hongwu's formation, so all resistance was futile. However, it was meaningless. He could only watch helplessly as his cultivation base was devoured. Chapter 1939. Oh? What secret is it? It's related to a Tao Lord Supreme Treasure? Yang Hanwu stopped attacking and asked Yi Tianqing. If he could really obtain a Tao Lord Supreme Treasure in a short time, he could let him go. However, the possibility of this was not high. Perhaps it was just a piece of news. The news of a supreme treasure was not very attractive to Yang Hanwu. However, there was no harm in listening to it. After all, there was no loss to be had. In fact, after obtaining this fragment of the planar boat, as long as he could fuse with the planar boat and comprehend the power of laws within, he could use the power of the fragment to travel through space and directly return to the divine dominion. Of course, the price would be too great. Moreover, fusing the fragments of the planar arc and comprehending the laws within would take some time. Yang Hanwu planned to go to the Black Fiend Abyss to look for the last fragment of the planar Arkansas. That's the supreme treasure of the Heavenly Demon Tribe, the Heavenly Demon Dao Sword, Yi Tianqing said. Heavenly Demon Tribe? Yang Hanwu had never heard of such a tribe. I've never heard of it. Is the Heavenly Demon Tribe very powerful? Where is the Heavenly Demon Dao Sword of the Heavenly Demon Tribe? Yang Hanwu looked at Yi Tianqing. I don't know the exact location. However, I've searched for many years and received news that the Heavenly Demon Dao Sword should be in the Black Fiend Abyss, Yi Tianqing said. Back then, I entered the Black Fiend Abyss with Shanhai Guanyue and the others to search for it. The Heavenly Demon Dao Sword. In fact, Yi Tianqing didn't know much. After all, his memories were sealed. You're not lying to me? Yang Hanwu narrowed his eyes. If it was in the Black Fiend Abyss, he could search for it. After all, he was going to the Black Fiend Abyss to find the last fragment of the planar boat. The possibility is very high. I can't be sure. In my mind, there seems to be memories of the Heavenly Demon Tribe sealed. If I want to get more information, I need to undo the seal. I've tried many times, but I can't undo the seal. It seems to be a seal left behind by an unparalleled expert, Yi Tianqing said. Yi Tianqing said. If it wasn't for the sake of survival, he would never reveal these secrets. After all, it was too shocking. Why did they seal their own secrets? If the Heavenly Demon Tribe were to be exposed, they would be hunted down by the entire continent of Heavenspan. Perhaps something even more terrifying would happen. Therefore, he had to be careful. You have your memories sealed? Yang Hongwu's eyes lit up when he heard this. Yi Tianqing was not an ordinary member of the demonic tribe. Moreover, the information he knew about the Heavenly Demon Tribe was probably sealed in a special way. For an ordinary person, it would be difficult to break the seal on his memory. However, Yang Hanwu was different. He had a special divine ability that ordinary people did not have. For him, any seal could be broken as long as he had enough time, even if it was a seal on one's memory. Yang Hanwu could also find a way to crack it. I can try to help you unseal your memories, Yang Hanwu said. This. Young master, are you confident? Yi Tianqing was a little worried when he heard this. He did not believe in this. He did not want to die. Previously, he had tried to break the seal on his memories by force, but he was almost seriously injured and even lost part of his memories. Therefore, after that, he didn't dare to try to break the seal by force anymore. After all, this was not a joke. However, now that Yang Hanwu had said so, he could not refuse. If he refused, Yang Hanwu would not let him go. However, if he agreed, it was too risky for him. He did not want to die. You don't want to agree? Yang Hanwu looked at him coldly and said, It doesn't matter if you don't agree. For me, it's just a treasure. Moreover, it's not something that has much hope. I really don't care. That's right. If you don't agree, die. Shanhai Guanyue said. Young master, you promised me that you would let me deal with Yi Tianqing. Shanhai Guanyue looked at Yi Tianqing with undisguised hatred. Now that she knew Yi Tianqing's identity, she hated him even more. Tai Tulong, who was standing at the side, was also full of threats. Once Yang Hanwu opened his mouth, Shanhai Guanyue and Tai Tulong would probably tear him to pieces. Yi Tianqing smiled bitterly. How could he be so stupid? Of all the things he could say, he had to say it out loud. Now, he had gotten himself caught in a trap of his own making. He was very clear about the danger of breaking the seal. Once something happened, once the seal was broken, it would not be a small problem. Young master, I agree. After hesitating for a while, he finally agreed. However, young master needs to promise me one thing. Otherwise, I would rather die. I would rather die together with you. Then you can go to hell. Yang Hongwu's eyes flashed coldly. A huge seal appeared in his hand and was about to smash it towards Yi Tianqing. Yi Tianqing's soul almost left his body when he saw this scene. This huge seal was filled with terrifying power. He was afraid that he would be completely dead under this attack. Not even his bones would be left behind. Even his soul would be obliterated. This huge seal was definitely a weapon. The current him would definitely not be able to resist such a powerful treasure. Wait, young master. I agree. I agree. Yi Tianqing shouted loudly. Even though he was very unwilling, he had no choice but to agree because he didn't want to die. However, at this time, although he said so, he still had a plan in mind. If Yang Hanwu was trapped in his sea of consciousness, wouldn't he have a chance? As a special foreign race, Yi Tianqing's identity was special. The power of his bloodline was also very special. If it wasn't for his special talent, he wouldn't have disguised himself as a human and hid among the humans. This came from his special talent, camouflage. This special talent allowed him to disguise his soul. In other words, as long as he came into contact with a person's soul and devoured a part of it, he would be able to disguise himself as that person's soul. In fact, Yi Tianqing had devoured the original Yi Tianqing. A part of Yi Tianqing's soul had become like this. Chapter 1940. Although he was helpless, he still had to let go of his mind. For any warrior, it was very dangerous to let go of their mind and let someone they couldn't absolutely trust to check on them. Even if it was their own flesh and blood, they might not be able to truly trust them. However, Yi Tianqing had no choice because he didn't want to die. If he didn't let go of his mind, he would die. Since he didn't want to die, he could only listen to Yang Hanwu and let him check on him. After Yi Tianqing opened his mind, Yang Hanwu instantly invaded his sea of consciousness. After entering Yi Tianqing's sea of consciousness, Yang Hanwu knew that this guy must be scheming against him. In the outside world, Yi Tianqing was not his opponent at all because he had too many means and was too powerful. However, it was different when he entered Yi Tianqing's sea of consciousness. That was his territory. For a warrior, when someone invaded his sea of consciousness, in fact, danger and opportunity coexisted. For the intruder, there were advantages and disadvantages. If the difference in strength was too great, after invading the sea of consciousness, it would cause great harm to the intruder and even directly seize his body. However, for a weak person, once he invaded the sea of consciousness of a warrior who was much stronger than him, it was simply courting death. Of course, if it was just a scheme, it would be a disaster for the intruder if he launched an attack at the moment when the intruder opened his mind. Of course, before Yang Hongwu's consciousness entered his sea of consciousness, Yi Tianqing would not make a move. He also wanted to see if Yang Hanwu could really open his memory seal. If possible, he also wanted to know what was going on. He wanted to see what was going on in his sealed memory. He was very curious about this. Although the memory seal could be unsealed bit by bit, it was too slow for him. There were many things he did not know at all. He did not even know where he came from. If he could devour Yang Hongwu's consciousness, seize his body, and unlock his memory seal, then he would really make a big profit. Yi Tianqing's idea was very good, but would Yang Hanwu give him a chance? If he did not have enough confidence, Yang Hanwu would not take the risk to enter Yi Tianqing's sea of consciousness. At the moment when Yi Tianqing opened his mind, Yang Hanwu planted a seal, which could control Yi Tianqing's life and death. When he found that his life and death was controlled by someone else, Yi Tianqing was stunned. He did not expect that the other party would be so overbearing. He did not have the power to resist at all. He was directly planted with a slave seal and became a slave. Moreover, he found that he could not resist at all. Once he wanted to use the slave seal, his soul would collapse. Terrible, this was terrible. At this moment, after Yang Hanwu took control of Yi Tianqing, he searched for the memory seal in his sea of consciousness. Soon, Yang Hanwu found a strange seal in the depths of Yi Tianqing's sea of consciousness. This seal was not an ordinary seal. It was extremely powerful. The strength of the person who set this seal was absolutely not to be underestimated. He estimated that the person who set this seal was at least a half-step Tao Lord, or even stronger. Moreover, the seal's technique was very special. If there was no special secret technique, the possibility of breaking the seal was too small. Moreover, the seal would explode directly if the power of the seal exploded. Once the power of the seal exploded, it would be a big trouble. It would directly detonate Yi Tianqing's sea of consciousness. At that time, the person who lifted the seal would be seriously injured, if not killed. Yang Hanwu had to admit that the person who set up the memory seal was really mysterious. Ordinary people could not do it. It's going to be quite difficult. Only a Tao Lord would be able to open the seal. Yang Hanwu narrowed his eyes. The other party probably had the same idea and was so confident. Moreover, if he was a Tao Lord expert, how could he pay a big price to open the seal for a mere sovereign realm expert? Moreover, Yi Tianqing was just an insignificant figure in the Skyspan continent. Tao Lords wouldn't appear in the Skyspan continent. This was the inner world of Tao Lord Zhigu. Unless Tao Lord Zhigu noticed something amiss and took action personally, it was impossible for other Tao Lords to enter this place. However, the other party never thought that he would encounter a freak like Yang Hanwu. A divine emperor expert had a special power that could break the memory seal in Yi Tianqing's sea of consciousness. A mere seal. Although mysterious, it can't stop me. Yang Hanwu chuckled. With a thought, a powerful force burst out. This was the power of fortune and the power of the karmic fire of the Red Lotus. He was ready to break the seal. Yang Hanwu intertwined the power of fortune and the power of the karmic fire of the Red Lotus and then drew a talisman. This talisman was naturally not an ordinary talisman. It was a talisman made to break the seal. However, it was difficult to use the power of fortune and the karmic fire of the Red Lotus to draw a talisman in Yi Tianqing's sea of consciousness. In addition, Yang Hanwu himself did not have much power of fortune. Moreover, this was Yi Tianqing's sea of consciousness. Yang Hanwu had to be careful. The expressions of the people who were guarding Yang Hanwu changed. At this time, Yang Hanwu's forehead was covered with sweat. It was obvious that Yang Hanwu had consumed a lot of energy. "Husband, will he be okay?" Pan and I asked. "Don't worry. We have to believe in the young master. With his strength, he will be fine." Tai Tulong was also worried. After all, this was related to his life. If something happened to Yang Hanwu, he would be the first to suffer. "Believe in him." Anya Shen said, "When has he ever done something that he is not confident in?" Chapter 1941. Open. With Yang Hongwu's shout, the talisman finally tore apart the seal on Yi Tianqing's memories. Yang Hanwu immediately discovered a shocking secret. This sealed memory was the relationship between the Celestial Monster clan and Yi Tianqing. It turned out that Yi Tianqing was a general under the emperor of the Celestial Monster clan. He had entered the sky-reaching continent in order to find the Celestial Monster clan. The treasure, the Celestial Monster Dao Sword. The Celestial Monster Dao Sword was the weapon of the Celestial Monster Emperor, the Supreme Celestial Monster Emperor. After the Celestial Monster Emperor lost the Tao Lord Zhigu, he was sealed in Zhiji's supreme treasure, the Zhigu Divine Palace. The whereabouts of the Celestial Monster Dao Sword were unknown. The Celestial Monster Emperor's true body was sealed, but one of his clones managed to escape. It was the current Celestial Monster King. However, the Celestial Monster tribe had always been in hiding, slowly developing. In fact, they were born from the Celestial Monster Emperor's physical body and bloodline power. From this, one could see how terrifyingly powerful the Celestial Emperor had been. Even the weakest of these alien outsiders had reached the half-step Tao Lord level of power long ago. They were infinitely close to the Tao Lord level of power. If it hadn't been for the Halt Spear Tao, without Zhiji's suppression, they would probably have broken through to the Tao Lord realm. After all, they were in Zhiji's inner world. Once they broke through to the Tao Lord realm, Zhigu would naturally know. If it was the Celestial Monster Emperor's bloodline, how could Zhigu really let him break through? Once he broke through to the Tao Lord realm, the Celestial Monster Emperor's bloodline would awaken, and the Celestial Monster Emperor's memories would be replaced. The Celestial Monster Emperor was Tao Lord Zhiji's mortal enemy, so Zhiga naturally wouldn't let him come back to life. As for the Celestial Monster King hiding in another world outside his inner world, Zhiga had guessed this, but he wasn't worried. This was because the Celestial Monster Emperor's true body was sealed in his inner world, and the Celestial Monster Tao Sword was the same. As long as the Celestial Monster Emperor didn't obtain his physical body and the Celestial Monster Tao Sword, there was nothing to worry about. What a heavenly demon emperor! After looking through Yi Tianqing's memories, Yan Hongwu was actually very impressed by Sky Demon Emperor. He didn't expect Tao Lord Zhiga to be so terrifying and powerful. It was completely beyond his imagination. It was an illusion. Experts like Tao Lord Zhiga were truly supreme experts. Other hegemons and Tao Lords wouldn't be able to withstand a single blow from him. They were known as eternal Tao Lords and were truly undying and indestructible. Therefore, even if the heavenly demon emperor was defeated by Tao Lord Zhiga, he could not be completely killed. He could only be sealed and imprisoned. Once someone in his bloodline broke through to the Tao Lord realm, their memories would be restored and replaced. In fact, if not for Tao Lord Zhiga's suppression, the Sky Demon Emperor would have recovered long ago. Even if he couldn't return to his peak, he wouldn't be far off. Furthermore, Yan Hongwu also obtained some important information from these memories. This entire great cosmos was called the Nine Heaven Cosmos. There were 4 immortal Tao Lords in the Nine Heaven Cosmos. The Sky Demon Emperor and Tao Lord Zhiga were 2 of them. As for the other 2, they were Tao Lord Sky Fiend and Tao Lord Sky Dragon. Among the 4, Tao Lord Sky Dragon and Tao Lord Sky Fiend were the strongest, followed by Tao Lord Sky Demon Emperor and Tao Lord Zhiga. These 4 were truly invincible existences in the Nine Heaven Cosmos. As for the other 2 immortal Tao Lords, no one knew where Tao Lord Sky Fiend and Tao Lord Sky Dragon had gone. When Yan Hongwu obtained these memories, he was extremely shocked. This information was too shocking. These countless planes and worlds formed the incomparably huge and boundless Nine Heaven Cosmos. A plane like the Divine Realm was, in fact, just a small plane in the Nine Heaven Cosmos. It was similar to the sky-reaching continent. These planes were nothing more than mid-tier planes. Tao Lords ruled over the truly high-tier planes. As one of the generals under the Sky Demon Emperor, Yi Tianqing came from a high-level plane. However, Tao Lord Zhiga's Zhiga Divine Palace was only connected to a low-level plane. Although the amount of information wasn't very large, it still shocked Yan Hongwu. If his strength reached that level, it wouldn't be too difficult for him to return to his original world, right? At this thought, Yan Hongwu couldn't help but recall what had happened before he transmigrated. After sighing, Yan Hongwu withdrew from Yi Tianqing's Sea of Consciousness. Yan Hongwu waved his hand and sealed the memories in Yi Tianqing's Sea of Consciousness again. Although this seal was not as strong as the Heavenly Demon Monarchs, it was still not as strong as the Heavenly Demon Monarchs. This seal wasn't much different from the one on the Sky Demon Emperor. Yan Hongwu was an expert in breaking seals, but he was still a little lacking in setting up seals. After all, it was easy to destroy, but much more difficult to set up. At the end of the day, it was still because his cultivation realm wasn't high enough. If he reached the Emperor realm, Yan Hongwu's seal might not be weaker than the one on the Sky Demon Emperor's clone, the Sky Demon Emperor's seal. As for the cultivation realm, the Sky Demon Emperor's clone, the Sky Demon Emperor's clone, was also comparable to a Tao Lord. However, because the Sky Demon Emperor's original body was sealed and suppressed by the laws of Zhiga, his clone couldn't break through. The bottleneck was stuck at the half-step Tao Lord realm, but in reality, his combat strength was definitely more terrifying than an ordinary Tao Lord. Of course, this wasn't something Yan Hongwu could come into contact with. The current Yan Hongwu couldn't even defeat a late-stage ruler without the support of the array, let alone a Tao Lord. Tao Lords were terrifyingly powerful. 10,000 supreme hegemons probably wouldn't even be able to compare to a single finger of a Tao Lord. Ordinary hegemons could be killed with a single sneeze. The difference in power between them was unimaginable. To a Tao Lord, anyone below the level of a Tao Lord was like an ant that could be turned to ashes with a casual wave of his hand. When Yang Hanwu opened his eyes, Pan and I hurriedly asked, "Husband, are you all right?" "Young master, what did you find?" Tai Tulong asked. Pan and I and the others were worried, but Tai Tulong and the others were curious. What kind of unspeakable secret was hidden in Yi Tianqing's sealed memories that needed to be sealed? Chapter 1942. Young master, why wasn't the seal lifted successfully? Yi Tianqing looked at Yan Hanwu and asked. But at this moment, he was still very glad that the seal was not broken, and he did not seem to have suffered any fatal injuries, which made him heave a sigh of relief. It was good to be alive. It was lifted. Yan Hanwu said, but I sealed it again. Why? Yi Tianqing's eyes widened when he heard this. He did not understand why Yan Hanwu did this. Since the seal had been lifted, why did he continue to seal it? It did not make sense. Could it be that there was something terrible in his memory? Once he got the memory, he could deal with Yan Hanwu? If that was the case, it would be reasonable. After all, no one would be so stupid. Thinking of this, Yi Tianqing felt very helpless, but there was nothing he could do. This was not something he could control. Although he was very helpless and dissatisfied with Yan Hanwu, he would not show it on his face. His life was still in Yan Hanwu's hands. If he dared to disrespect Yan Hanwu would be able to sense it. He estimated that he would not have a good life. Your origin is really not simple. Yan Hanwu looked at Yi Tianqing and did not answer his question. Heavenly Demon Tribe, General under the Heavenly Demon King. How should I address you? General under the Heavenly Demon King? Yi Tianqing heard this and said, Young master, I'm afraid you're mistaken. I don't know any Heavenly Demon King. Of course you don't know, because your memory has been sealed. Your current memory has been tampered with. Yan Hanwu said. Young master. Yi Tianqing looked at Yan Hanwu and was about to speak, but Yan Hanwu interrupted him. It's impossible for me to tell you those memories now. However, if you perform well in the future, I might be able to give you a part of them. Although Yi Tianqing wanted the memories very much, he was helpless if Yan Hanwu did not give it to him. Yan Hanwu released the array formation, and in an instant, the martial artists of Heavenly Star City rushed into the City Lord's mansion. The entire City Lord's mansion was sealed off by the array formation. If they didn't know that something had happened to the City Lord's mansion, then it would be strange. The Heavenly Star City wasn't like the other cities in the sky-reaching continent. The City Lord of the Heavenly Star City didn't have the support of the source energy. Therefore, it wasn't strange for enemies to break into the city. City Lord. At this moment, almost all the experts of Stellar Sky City had gathered in the City Lord's mansion. There were more than 10 half-step sovereigns. From this, it could be seen that the strength of Heavenly Star City was extremely terrifying and powerful. City Lord. You can leave now. It's fine, Yi Tianqing said. But City Lord, who are they? One of the elders asked. Elder Song, I invited these people over to set up the formation. What happened just now was just an experiment. Yi Tianqing said, as for these two people, Elder Song, you should know them as well. This is Shanhai Guanyue, and this is Tai Tulong, the City Lord of Iron Mountain City. Elder Song and the others were very puzzled because they knew very well that the City Lord, Shanhai Guanyue, and Tai Tulong were all enemies. Back then, the City Lord had destroyed the teleportation formation to avoid them and let Shanhai Guanyue and the others enter. No one could enter the chaotic astral ocean. However, since the City Lord had said so, they wouldn't say anything. Then, City Lord, will return. Although Elder Song also suspected that Yi Tianqing had been kidnapped, the possibility was very high. However, even if they knew that the City Lord had been kidnapped, there was nothing they could do. Unless they gave up on the City Lord, but they weren't strong enough to do so. None of them had reached the Sovereign Realm. On the other hand, Shanhai Guanyue and Tai Tulong were both Sovereign Realm experts. 1,000 years ago, their strength was at the late sovereign realm. Even the city lord, Yi Tianqing, was only at the mid-sovereign realm. A mid-sovereign realm expert wouldn't be able to deal with them, let alone a late sovereign realm expert. Not good, not good, city lord, the sea race is attacking the city. The entire chaotic astral ocean is under attack. At this moment, a guard hurriedly ran in. Yi Tianqing's eyes flashed. He had long known that the sea race was attacking the chaotic astral ocean. This was his plan. However, Yi Tianqing didn't know if this memory of his had been seen by Yang Hanwu. I know. You can leave first. Yi Tianqing waved his hand. After Yi Tianqing's people left, he said to Yang Hanwu, Young master, now that the sea race is attacking the chaotic astral ocean, Tianqing City is in chaos. The entire chaotic astral ocean is in danger. I wonder if young master can help me protect Tianqing City? Yang Hanwu looked at him with a smile that wasn't a smile. The sea race is attacking? What's going on? Do you think I don't know what's going on? When Yi Tianqing heard this, he knew that his memory had been exposed. He felt helpless. Young master, then, what do you think we should do? Yi Tianqing looked at Yang Hanwu and asked. Yang Hanwu said, although I hate you alien races, for me, that's not the most important thing right now. What I want is the planar boat, so I won't leave it behind. As for the sea race, you have to find a way to make them leave. As for you, you have to follow me to the Black Fiend Abyss. Of course, if you don't want to, you know the consequences. Although Yi Tianqing was unwilling, there was nothing he could do. The Black Fiend Abyss. He had been there once and almost died there. This showed how terrifying the Black Fiend Abyss was. Although he had to go to the Black Fiend Abyss, he wasn't prepared yet. Originally, he wanted to wait until his cultivation base had broken through to the late sovereign realm before going to the Black Fiend Abyss. However, Yang Hanwu had planted a slave seal on him and he had become Yang Hongwu's servant. There was no way he could refuse unless he wanted to die. Yi Tianqing was the city lord of Tianqing City and the leader of the sea race. He had a high status, but he didn't expect to be reduced to a servant in his own territory. Okay, you go and deal with the sea race first. I don't want you to delay my plan. If my plan goes wrong and delays my time, then you can die. Yang Hongwu's eyes flashed with a cold light. The killing intent in his eyes was undisguised. Yi Tianqing nodded repeatedly. Don't worry, young master. This matter will be resolved soon. Chapter 1943. Don't worry, he won't dare. Yang Hanwu said confidently. Because Yi Tianqing had a slave seal planted by him, he wouldn't dare to disobey his orders. Once he disobeyed, he would be turned into ashes with just the thought. Since Yang Hanwu said so, he must be confident. Now, there were many treasures in Tianqing City. Especially the treasury of Tianqing City, which had been opened by Yang Hanwu. He had searched Yi Tianqing's memory and naturally knew the way to enter the treasury. Master, this is the treasury of Tianqing City. Everyone was pleasantly surprised. They didn't expect to actually reach the treasury of the Sky Star City. There were so many treasures that they were dazzled by. Among them, there were a total of 3 supreme treasures. 3 of them. These were the real supreme treasures. Even Yang Hanwu found it unbelievable that there were 3 supreme treasures in Tianqing City. Although they weren't supreme treasures, they weren't far from it. Take whatever you like. Yang Hanwu said to Pan and I and Anya Shenv. Shan Haiguanyu and Tai Tulong knew how important the 2 women were to Yang Hanwu. They didn't dare to snatch the treasures before the 2 women. If they dared to do so, Yang Hanwu would be furious. As for the 3 supreme treasures, Yang Hanwu had already grabbed them. I'll take this red caltrop. Anya Shenv took a fancy to the red caltrop as if it was specially prepared for him. As for Pan and I, she shook her head and said, I don't want these 2 supreme treasures. Leave them to the other sisters. Pan and I knew that Yang Hanwu had many women and they weren't very strong. At least, before she met them, they weren't strong. Now, Yan Hongwu's cultivation was only at the Divine Emperor realm. The other women couldn't be stronger than Yan Hongwu. After all, they weren't as talented as Yan Hongwu, who could increase his cultivation without restraint. Alright, I'll find a suitable one for you next time, Yan Hongwu said. You can choose from the rest. Since Yan Hongwu had taken the 3 supreme treasures, Yan Hongwu didn't care too much about the remaining items. Moreover, he knew that Tai Tulong and Shanhai Guanyue wouldn't go overboard because they didn't want to offend Yan Hongwu. After all, Yan Hongwu was still their master, even Mountain Sea Watcher of the Moon. Although she was not controlled by Yan Hongwu, she had signed a contract. The 2 of them each chose a treasure and did not do anything else. As for the rest of the items, Yan Hongwu waved his hand and emptied the entire treasury. Shanhai Guanyue and Tai Tulong were speechless. Both of them rejoiced. If Yan Hongwu had been like this in the past, they would have suffered a great loss. It was especially so for Shanhai Guanyue. As for Tai Tulong, it didn't matter anymore. He couldn't even control his own life and death. The entire Iron Mountain City was no longer his. Even if the Iron Mountain City's treasury was emptied, it wouldn't make much of a difference to him. Let's go. Hold on. Yan Hongwu caught sight of a pearl in the corner of the treasury. Yan Hongwu was pleasantly surprised. This pearl looked like an ordinary rock but was extremely unique. Most people wouldn't be able to tell, but Yan Hongwu could sense it. This pearl was actually a dragon pearl. Furthermore, at this moment, the dragon ball actually contained the power of creation. This was way too rare. A dragon pearl that contained the power of fortune was definitely extremely precious to Yan Hongwu. Just how strong was the owner of this dragon pearl? He must have reached the level of a half-step Dao Lord or even a Dao Lord. Protect me, Yan Hongwu said to the few of them. They nodded. Don't worry, young master, Tai Tulong said, with us around, you can cultivate without worry. That's right. You can rest assured. Yan Hongwu nodded. Pan and I and Anya Shenv, on the other hand, were a little worried. After all, Tai Tulong and Shanhai Guanyue weren't absolutely trustworthy people. Yan Hongwu sat down cross-legged and took out the devouring oven. The dragon pearl was instantly pulled into the devouring oven. This dragon pearl looked like a stone and was very ordinary. But in fact, this was because this dragon pearl was sealed. After the dragon pearl was pulled into the devouring oven, Yan Hongwu undid the seal. Before sending the dragon pearl into the devouring oven, he wouldn't take the risk of undoing the seal. This was because once the seal was undone, a terrifying power would erupt. At that time, it would be difficult for him to suppress it and send it into the devouring oven. That would take a lot of effort. In order to save time, Yan Hongwu naturally wouldn't do that. The moment the seal was undone, a dragon's roar could be heard. Within the devouring oven, the image of a huge dragon appeared. This huge dragon was filled with supreme power. The terrifying aura almost affected Yan Hongwu. Even the few people who were protecting Yan Hongwu outside trembled. This aura was too domineering and terrifying. Fortunately, this was within the devouring oven. The moment the dragon's aura erupted, the devouring oven began to suppress it. Yan Hongwu's 9 Heavens Divine Dragon technique was circulated to the maximum. He crazily suppressed the huge dragon, forcefully suppressing it. This was just a dragon ball. If the owner of this dragon ball was still alive, then how terrifying and powerful would the other party be? A Dao Lord expert is really terrifying. The owner of this dragon pearl has definitely surpassed the sovereign realm. He's a Dao Lord expert. Even though Tai Tulong was known as the Dragon Slayer, he wouldn't even have the chance to escape if he were to face such a powerful being from the dragon race. Furthermore, the power that burst forth from this dragon pearl was something that even he could not suppress even at his peak. Only now did he truly see how strong and terrifying Yan Hongwu was. A Dao Lord's dragon pearl had been suppressed so easily. Yan Hongwu was simply too powerful. In fact, what they didn't know was that Yan Hongwu had the bloodline of dragons in his body. Moreover, it was a supreme bloodline. In addition, he cultivated the Nine Heavens Divine Dragon Technique. This was the supreme cultivation technique of dragons. If he cultivated it to the maximum, his strength would reach an unimaginable level. Of course, whether he could surpass the Tao Lord realm was unknown. At this moment, after Yan Hanwu suppressed the Dragon Pearl, he began to devour the energy of the Dragon Pearl to raise his cultivation base. The devouring oven was operating to the maximum. Yang Hongwu's Nine Heavens Divine Dragon Technique was also operating crazily. Boom! Yang Hongwu's body trembled. The bottleneck in his body was broken instantly. His cultivation base rose and he entered the Emperor realm. Chapter 1944. His cultivation did not stop after breaking through to the Emperor realm. Instead, it continued to rise. At this moment, the sky above Tianxing City was filled with thunderbolts. Yang Hongwu's tribulation had arrived. The Emperor's tribulation. All the cultivators in Stellar Sky City were stunned. Who would be undergoing tribulation in this city? Moreover, this tribulation was extremely terrifying. It was so oppressive that it made it hard for people to breathe. Tai Tulong and the others were also shocked. How was this an emperor's tribulation? It was too terrifying. Even the tribulation of breaking through to the sovereign realm was far from reaching this level. However, as soon as Yang Hanwu retracted his aura, the oppressive aura disappeared instantly. The tribulation also lost its target and naturally dissipated. This made Shanhai Guanyue and the others even more shocked. One should know that once the tribulation was locked on, it would not dissipate unless the person undergoing the tribulation was dead. However, Yang Hanwu did it. After his aura disappeared, there was no way to sense it. This concealment technique was really too powerful. Of course, even though Shanhai Guanyue and Tai Tulong wanted to get their hands on such a heaven-defying concealment technique, they knew that this was Yang Hongwu's trump card. A secret technique like this wouldn't be handed over to others so easily. Perhaps, this was Yang Hongwu's innate ability? Not long after, Yang Hongwu opened his eyes. His cultivation had not only broken through to the Emperor realm, but also reached the second level of the Emperor realm. The energy contained in this Dragon Pearl was indeed powerful. Yang Hanwu thought that breaking through to the first level of the Emperor realm would be his limit. However, he did not expect that he would break through the bottleneck of the first level of the Emperor realm. This was because he had entered the second level of the Emperor realm. This was too shocking. As expected of a Tao Lord Dragon Pearl, it was indeed powerful. Moreover, Yang Hongwu's cultivation did not only increase after obtaining this Dragon Pearl. He also obtained a part of the information in the Dragon Pearl. This part of the information was a secret technique in a map. This cultivation technique was the complete version of the art of dragon transformation. This cultivation technique was truly terrifying. Yang Hanwu had once obtained the art of dragon transformation. However, that art of dragon transformation wasn't complete. It was incomplete. Although it was still very powerful, it was still incomplete. It was limited and flawed. And now, the Omni Dragon's transformation art that he had obtained this time around was truly complete. As long as Yang Hanwu possessed sufficient strength and spirit power, he would be able to refine any item into a dragon and control it. With this cultivation technique, as long as one cultivated it to the peak, it would be equivalent to having an endless supply of servants and puppets. This was truly terrifying. Think about it. In battle, one could transform one's enemy into a dragon, turning it into one's own puppet servant. Then, one could turn the tables and attack one's enemy. How satisfying would that be? To one's enemy, this was definitely a terrifying and unimaginable thing. After opening his eyes, Yang Hanwu pointed with his finger. A half-step sovereign realm inner core instantly transformed into a dragon. This dragon's aura was powerful. Although it wasn't at the half-step sovereign realm, it was at the peak of the Emperor realm. This was because it was only one step away from the half-step sovereign realm. Seeing this scene, everyone's eyes widened. What kind of secret technique was this? It was so terrifying that a single inner core could transform into a dragon. This kind of technique was simply unheard of. Could this be the legendary lost art of dragon transformation? After recovering from his shock, Mountain Sea Moon Watcher exclaimed in shock. Art of dragon transformation. This. Tai Tulong knew about it as well. Even though he had not thought of it earlier on, he was still shocked by Shan Hai Guanyua's reminder. Art of dragon transformation. This was a supreme secret skill that existed only in legends. Who would have thought that they would see it in Yang Hongwu's hands? What was his background? He even cultivated the art of dragon transformation. This was too shocking. That's right. Yang Hongwu nodded and didn't hide it. This is the art of dragon transformation. After receiving a confirmation, both of them saw the shock in each other's eyes. Could Yang Hongwu be the illegitimate son of the great Dao? With such terrifying talent, endless trump cards, and numerous treasures, this definitely wasn't something that an ordinary person could possess. Perhaps even Dao Lord Zhiga's disciple didn't have so many treasures, nor such a terrifying secret technique. In fact, the art of dragon transformation wasn't something that just anyone could cultivate. Although this technique was powerful, it required certain conditions to cultivate. First, it required the bloodline of dragons. Moreover, it couldn't be weak. Next, it required one's spiritual power. It needed to be far stronger than other martial artists of the same realm. Otherwise, it wouldn't be possible to use it. Yi Tianqing is back. Yang Hongwu said, we should go to the Black Fiend Abyss. Not long after Yang Hongwu finished speaking, Yi Tianqing had indeed returned. At this moment, seeing that his treasury had been opened, Yi Tianqing knew that things weren't good. The things he had collected for a long time couldn't be protected. He was pained, but there was nothing he could do about it. He didn't dare to be dissatisfied with Yang Hongwu, nor did he dare to say anything. He only hoped that Yang Hongwu had left something behind for him. However, this possibility wasn't high. Have you dealt with the matter? Yang Hongwu asked casually. Yes, young master. It's been dealt with. The Sea tribe has retreated. Yi Tianqing said. That's good. We should also go to the Black Fiend Abyss. Isn't the information you want about the Sky Demon Dao Sword also in the Black Fiend Abyss? As long as I get what I want, I'll set all of you free. Yang Hongwu's words weren't just for Yi Tianqing. He wasn't talking to Yi Tianqing, but to Shanhai Guanyue, Tai Tulong, and Yi Tianqing. Is young master speaking the truth? Yi Tianqing was pleasantly surprised. He naturally didn't want to be controlled by Yang Hongwu. It would be best if he could regain his freedom. After all, who would want to be controlled by someone else without freedom? It was too unpleasant. Tai Tulong and Shanhai Guanyue felt the same. However, Tai Tulong didn't think that Yang Hongwu would let them go so easily. After all, their strength was there. Who would let such powerful servants go so easily? Once Tai Tulong's control was released, he might even turn from a servant to a slave. No powerful enemy would be so foolish. Of course, to Tai Tulong, even if he regained his freedom, he would never attack Yang Hongwu again. Yang Hongwu's strength was too frightening. He even suspected that the strength Yang Hongwu had shown them was only at the beginning of the battle. Chapter 1945. I always keep my word. As long as I get what I want, I will set you free. Yang Hongwu said indifferently. To him, it was good to have a few powerful servants. However, he couldn't send them into the inner world, the common people's great world, and he couldn't bring them into the deity domain. After all, even if he got the dimensional boat, he would have to pay a huge price to bring the dimensional boat and 3 sovereign realm martial artists to the deity domain. It would be huge and unbearable. Of course, there was another option, which was to make them his son Yang Tianjun's servants. However, the current Yang Tianjun was still too weak. Yang Hongwu did not think that Yang Tianjun would be able to control them. Since he could not control them, if he couldn't, then there was no need. Otherwise, he would be asking for trouble. Once they were out of his control, Yang Tianjun would be in danger. Then I'll thank young master first. Yi Tianxing was overjoyed. Since Yang Hanwu had said so, then he had no reason to go back on his words. With his cultivation base at such a level, he naturally wouldn't go against his words easily. However, Yi Tianxing definitely didn't dare to let Yang Hanwu make any promises or make any vows. That would be courting death. Yi Tianxing was actually an old fox. He naturally wouldn't do such a stupid thing to anger Yang Hanwu. Yang Hanwu was also clear about this. If this guy wasn't useful to him, he would have directly thrown him to Shanhai Guanyue to deal with. He believed that Shanhai Guanyue didn't have any good feelings towards Yi Tianxing. However, Yang Hongwu's previous promise made Shanhai Guanyue slightly dissatisfied. After all, Yang Hongwu had already promised to hand Yi Tianxing over to him. Now, he didn't. Moreover, Yang Hongwu actually promised Yi Tianxing that as long as he got the dimensional boat, the planar boat had let Yi Tianxing go. Of course, Mountain Sea Guanyue was displeased. This was nothing to Yang Hongwu. Even if he knew, it didn't matter. Young master, are we going to the Black Fiend Abyss now? At this time, the Black Fiend Abyss was at its most dangerous. The fiendish aura was at its most terrifying. Once one entered, it was very likely that they would be affected by the fiendish aura, leading to the birth of heart demons and becoming a demon. Tai Tulong hesitated for a moment before replying. How could they not be clear about the terror of the Black Fiend Abyss? Tai Tulong said this because he wanted Yang Hongwu to reconsider. After all, the Black Fiend Abyss was too terrifying, and this was the time when it was the scariest. If not for the special circumstances, no one would choose to enter the Black Fiend Abyss at this time. I don't have that much time, Yang Hongwu said coldly. You can choose not to go. Yang Hongwu's words infuriated him. Tai Tulong was no fool. Since Yang Hongwu had said so, he had no other choice. If he dared to say another word, his life would be over. No, it's my honor to work for young master. Tai Tulong hurriedly explained, I'm just worried about young master's safety. Although the Black Fiend Abyss is dangerous, it shouldn't be too difficult for young master. Does anyone else have any objections? Yang Hongwu looked at them coldly. The three shook their heads. As for Pan and Anya Shenv, they naturally wouldn't object. They obeyed Yang Hongwu's every word. His words and orders were carried out without hesitation. Since there are no objections, let's go. After Yang Hongwu finished speaking, the group left Tianxing City. They boarded the Mountain Sea vessel and arrived at the small island with the ancient teleportation array. Seeing the array here, Yi Tianxing couldn't help but sigh. If he had destroyed the array here back then, this wouldn't have happened. However, it was too late for regrets. Now that he had become Yang Hongwu's servant, his life and death were in his hands. Now, the only thing he could do was hope that this trip to the Black Fiend Abyss would be safe and sound. The last fragment of the planar vessel would leave this place safely. Once it left this place safely, it would be free. When he returned to Tianxing City, he would definitely destroy all the teleportation arrays. Once he destroyed them, no one would be able to threaten him. In the chaotic astral ocean, no one was his opponent. The reason why the chaotic astral ocean was divided into 4 factions was because he didn't want to expose his identity. But now, his identity had already been exposed. Therefore, he arrived at the chaotic astral ocean. At that time, he would no longer have any hesitation. Since he had already been exposed, how could the chaotic astral ocean still be controlled by others? Therefore, when he left, he had already given orders to his subordinates. After they left, they would immediately launch an attack and take control of the entire ocean. Of course, the teleportation arrays would also be destroyed. If the teleportation arrays weren't destroyed, they would still be a huge threat to him if they continued to teleport. As for himself, returning to the chaotic astral ocean wasn't difficult at all. After all, he also belonged to the Sea Clan. With the help of the Sea Clan's power, he could easily return to the chaotic astral ocean. These calculations were nothing in Yang Hongwu's eyes. In the face of absolute strength, all calculations were false. How could Yi Tianqing hide his thoughts from Yan Hanwu? He just didn't point it out. After all, the most important thing for him wasn't these, but returning to the divine realm. Now that he didn't know the situation in the divine realm, he was very worried about it. After all, the possibility that the so-called demon lord of the divine realm was Zetian was too high. And Zetian hated him to the bone. Of course, it was impossible for him to let go of his woman. Once he caught her, it would be a terrible disaster. If that wasn't the case, Yan Hanwu wouldn't be in such a hurry to go back. If it wasn't for his lack of strength, he would have chosen to directly use the void travel secret technique to teleport to the divine realm. However, the price of that was too high. If he used it rashly, not only would it be possible for him to teleport to the divine realm, but he also wasn't strong enough. Chapter 1946. One day later. The group of people finally passed through the teleportation array and stepped onto an ancient mountain. This ancient mountain was the only path to the Black Fiend Abyss. At the foot of the mountain was an ancient town. Anyone who wanted to enter Black Fiend Abyss would first set up camp in this town. This town was called Black Fiend Town. The town wasn't big, but there were many experts here. As soon as Yan Hanwu entered the town, he felt several powerful auras. There were multiple hegemons present, and the most powerful of them had most likely reached the half-step Tao Lord level of power. This man was the strongest person Yan Hanwu had met since he had entered the heavenly span continent. One could only imagine how strong he was. Young master, there are many experts in Black Fiend Town, especially the mayor. Rumor has it that his strength is infinitely close to the Tao Lord realm. He's very terrifying. Tai Tulong said beside Yan Hanwu. He was worried that Yan Hanwu would be so unscrupulous here. If he offended the mayor of Black Fiend Town, he would be in big trouble. In fact, there were all kinds of people in the Black Evil Town. However, no one dared to cause trouble here because of this reason. The strength of the Black Evil Town was too strong. Those who had caused trouble in the Black Evil Town were all dead. Oh, he's so powerful. I'm curious. If there's a chance, I'd like to pay him a visit. Yan Hanwu said with a faint smile. Tai Tulong and Shanhai Guanyue were shocked when they heard Yan Hanwu's words. Could it be that they had overreached themselves? If that was the case, it would be troublesome. After all, he just wanted to remind Yan Hanwu not to be too ostentatious in Black Fiend Town. If Yan Hanwu was interested, it would be bad. Black Fiend Town's strength was absolutely terrifying. In Tongtian Continent, there were very few forces that could contend with Black Fiend Town. Many experts even wanted to join Black Fiend Town. However, Black Fiend Town didn't accept outsiders. That was why Black Fiend Town hadn't changed much. If Black Fiend Town had the intention to expand its power, it would have become one of the strongest forces in Tongtian Continent. They looked at each other, hoping that Yan Hanwu wouldn't be so bold. If he really offended the people of Black Fiend Town, his life would be in danger, let alone going to Black Fiend Abyss to search for the fragments of the planar boat. If young master wants to go to Black Fiend Abyss to search for the fragments of the planar boat as soon as possible, it's best not to provoke the people of Black Fiend Town. Although I know that young master is strong, it's better to avoid trouble, Yi Tianqing said. Yan Hanwu smiled and said, I know that. Don't worry, I don't want to waste too much time. I'm just saying, but, Yan Hanwu paused and said, sometimes, we can't do whatever we want. Even if I don't find trouble with others, someone will come knocking on my door. What? Yi Tianqing and the others didn't understand. Not long after Yan Hanwu finished speaking, someone came forward to greet them. These people didn't seem to have come with good intentions. Moreover, from their clothes, it was obvious that they were from Black Fiend Town because they were wearing the guard uniform of Black Fiend Town. The leader of the group wasn't weak. He was a first-layer sovereign. Although he couldn't compare to Tai Tulong and the others, he definitely wasn't weak. One had to know that there were only so many sovereigns in the entire Skyspan continent. There were more than 10,000 cities in the Skyspan continent, but there were only 3,000 or so cities with sovereigns. Therefore, there were only a few thousand sovereigns in the entire Skyspan continent. Most of them were only early-stage sovereigns. As for mid-stage sovereigns, there were only a few hundred of them. Of course, there were even fewer late-stage sovereigns, less than 100 of them. Therefore, Tai Tulong and Shanhai Guanyue could definitely be considered experts. As for half-step Dao Lords, there were only a dozen or so of them. As for why Iron Mountain City and Shanghai City couldn't become one of the major cities, it was because they had too few experts. Black Fiend Town, which looked like a small town, had a half-step Dao Lord overseeing it. Including the sovereigns, there were a dozen or so people. Therefore, Black Fiend Town could definitely be ranked in the top 10 in the Skyspan continent. These are Black Fiend Town's guards. Shanhai Guanyue's expression changed. The guards of Black Evil Town would not appear under normal circumstances, unless there was a special situation, or when someone was causing trouble in Black Evil Town, they would appear. However, this time, they appeared as soon as they entered the town. Could it be that they were here for them? If that was the case, they were in trouble. Come with me. My young master wants to see you, said the leader, Heiyuni. They were Black Fiend Town's guards, and Heiyuni was their captain. He was a first-stage sovereign. He did not understand why his young master wanted to find these people. In comparison, these people were not weak at all. There were at least 3 people who were stronger than him. 2 of them were definitely mid-stage sovereigns, and they might even be late-stage sovereigns. In that case, they were extremely powerful. Unless the old master made a move, no one would be a match for them. Furthermore, the old master was in seclusion all day long. He wouldn't come out of seclusion easily. If they caused trouble, they would probably be scolded by the old master. However, since their young master had spoken, they didn't dare to disobey. Who's your young master? Tai Tulong asked. My young master is the young master of Black Fiend Town. He wants to see you. If you don't go, don't blame us for being impolite, said Heiyuni. He spoke with confidence. After all, no matter who it was, they had to obey the rules of Black Fiend Town. No one dared to act presumptuously in Black Fiend Town unless they weren't in Black Fiend Town. These people had probably come to Black Fiend Town to go to the Black Fiend Abyss. To go to the Black Fiend Abyss, one had to pass through Black Fiend Town. Otherwise, it was impossible to enter the Black Fiend Abyss. He was well aware of this point. This bastard is too despicable. So what if it's Black Fiend Town? Even if we're not a match for the old ancestor of Black Fiend Town, it's still not a problem for us to escape from here. Tai Tulong felt Yang Hongwu's killing intent. Combining it with his observation of Yang Hongwu, he knew that Yang Hongwu was not the kind of person who would be threatened or compromise. Once he was enraged, the consequences would be unimaginable. Coincidentally, this guard captain of Black Fiend Town dared to be so presumptuous and threaten him. Therefore, Yang Hongwu would definitely not let him off easily. Once they made a move, they would definitely go against Black Fiend Town. Since they knew that they would go against each other, they might as well make the first move and seize the opportunity. How dare you! Hearing this, Heiyuni and the others acted as if they were facing a great enemy. Each of them took out their weapons and stared at Yang Hongwu's group, fearing that they would attack. These people were truly audacious. To think that they would dare to act so presumptuously in Black Fiend Town. It was as if they did not put Black Fiend Town in their eyes at all. There were only 2 kinds of people who would dare to do such a thing. One was a fool who did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. The other was someone who had absolute strength and could go against Black Fiend Town. The first possibility was actually not very big. Because they knew Tai Tulong and Shanhai Guanyue. These 2 experts had been here before and knew each other. Since the first possibility was not the case, there was only the second possibility. The other party was extremely powerful and was not afraid of Black Fiend Town at all. It could be seen that the young man in this group was the one who could make the decision. For such a person to be able to have experts like Tai Tulong and Shanhai Guanyue as his followers, it could be seen how powerful and terrifying his background was. This time around, the young master's actions might have brought trouble to Black Fiend Town. If the old master knew about it, the young master's status might be stripped away. Young master? Tai Tulong looked at Yan Hanwu, waiting for his order. As long as Yan Hanwu gave the order, he would immediately attack and kill these guards. To him, among these people, other than Heiyuni, the others would not be able to withstand a single blow. As for Heiyuni, although his strength was not bad and he had reached the sovereign realm, he was still an early sovereign. It would not be difficult for him to kill him. Even though Tai Tulong had not recovered to his peak, he had recovered his strength to the 6th layer of sovereign realm. He was only a step away from the 7th layer of sovereign realm. It was naturally not difficult for a peak 6th layer sovereign to deal with an early sovereign realm cultivator. Moreover, he had 2 other sovereign realm experts with him. One was Shanhai Guanyue, who was on par with him, and the other was Yi Tianqing, who was not weak either. If the 3 of them worked together, it would only take a few breaths to kill these people. Yang Hanwu raised his hand, indicating for Tai Tulong to step back. He then looked at Heiyuni and said, "Go back and tell your young master that I have no interest in him. I don't have the time to play with him. Tell him not to provoke me. If he doesn't know what's good for him, I will let him know what true fear is. Don't think that you can act recklessly just because you have a half-step Dao Lord in Black Fiend Town. To me, a half-step Dao Lord is nothing." Heiyuni listened carefully and thought to himself, "This kid really doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. What did a half-step Dao Lord mean? They were existences that stood at the pinnacle of the heaven-span continent. Those who could contend against them were half-step Dao Lords. It could be said that they were invincible in the heaven-span continent. Although there were differences in strength between half-step Dao Lords, it was absolutely impossible for them to kill each other. As for existences beyond half-step Dao Lords, it was impossible for them to exist in the heaven-span continent. This kid actually dared to say such a thing. He was simply too arrogant. Although he was angry, he also knew that he was not a match for them. Looking at Yang Hongwu's eyes, he was afraid that Yang Hanwu would really kill him if he said too much. Chapter 1948. Bah, who do you think you are? How dare you threaten my young master? You must be tired of living, Tai Tulong scolded. Let's go to the Black Fiend Abyss, Yang Hanwu said to Tai Tulong and the others. Yang Hanwu wasn't familiar with Black Fiend Town, but Tai Tulong and the other 2 couldn't be more familiar with it. This wasn't the first time they had been here. Under the guidance of the 3, the group quickly arrived at the entrance to the Black Fiend Abyss. There was a powerful formation restriction at the entrance. The purpose of the formation restriction was to prevent the fiendish qi inside from escaping. This was because the fiendish qi was very fatal to ordinary warriors. If they came into contact with it for a long time, they could easily go berserk and fall into the demonic path. They would become killing machines and lose their sense of self. In fact, the old ancestor of Black Fiend Town had established Black Fiend Town to prevent the fiendish aura from spreading out from the Black Fiend Abyss. Once the fiendish qi from the Black Fiend Abyss spread out, it would lead to terrible consequences. When that happened, the entire Tongtian continent would be doomed. Rumor had it that the fiendish qi in the Black Fiend Abyss came from a demon king that had been killed by Dao Lord Jiga. After the demon king's death, its resentment condensed and formed the terrifying Black Fiend Abyss. In this Black Fiend Abyss, although danger lurked everywhere, there were also great opportunities. If someone could find the location of the demon monarch, it was possible to obtain the inheritance and treasures of the demon monarch. For any warrior, this was a great opportunity. This was a great temptation. After all, the demon king wasn't an ordinary warrior, but a Dao Lord expert. Even if he was a demonic cultivator, he was still a great temptation to any warrior. As a cultivator, their goal was to increase their cultivation base, break through their limits, and enter a higher realm of cultivation. The Demon King's strength was extraordinary. He was a Dao Lord. How valuable would the treasures left behind by a Dao Lord be? Because of this, although the Black Fiend Abyss was full of danger, and those who entered could be said to have a slim chance of survival. They could not resist the temptation of treasures. Countless cultivators entered the Black Fiend Abyss one after another in search of opportunities. It was rumored that the owner of the dimensional boat had entered the Black Fiend Abyss in search of the inheritance treasure of the innate Demon King. However, due to his lack of strength and bad luck, he had perished in the Black Fiend Abyss. It was also because of this that the planar arc was destroyed and split into 3 pieces. In Black Fiend Town, there were people guarding the entrance to the Black Fiend Abyss. They were the strongest guards in Black Fiend Town, the Black Fiend Guard. The Black Fiend Guards were the strongest force in Black Fiend Town. The person in charge of the Black Fiend Guard was the Patriarch of Black Fiend Town. No one knew his true name, but he had already reached the half-step Dowlord level of power. People called him the Black Fiend Patriarch. It was rumored that this person could devour baleful aura to cultivate. To others, the Black Fiend Abyss was a terrifying place, but to him, it was a cultivation treasure land. However, even an expert like him could not find the inheritance of the innate Demon King and obtain the supreme treasure of the innate Demon King. It was even more difficult for others. Of course, it did not mean that others could not find it just because half-step Dowlords could not. In fact, although this was related to cultivation to a certain extent, it was not absolute. Any treasure, any opportunity, all depended on the situation. If the opportunity came and the luck was there, then the treasure would naturally be there. In fact, everyone was guessing that the innate Demon King was waiting for the fated person to come. Of course, there were also people who said that the innate Demon King was not dead at all and was only sealed. After all, a Dowlord was too powerful and too difficult to kill. Therefore, it was very likely that Dowlord Giga had sealed him here. In the Black Fiend Abyss. If someone really found the innate Demon King, it meant that the seal was broken. At that time, the innate Demon King would be born, and the entire Skyspan continent would be finished. Even the Giga Shrine would be destroyed. All of this was just everyone's guess. No one knew what the real situation was or what the truth was. Perhaps only the master of Black Fiend Town, the Black Fiend Patriarch, knew some secrets. However, no one dared to ask the Patriarch. Even if someone did, they might not get the answer they wanted. Stop! Seeing Yang Hongwu's group, the Black Fiend Guard coldly called out and blocked their path. Gentlemen, my young master wants to enter the Black Fiend Abyss. Please make it convenient for him. Yi Tianqing walked in front to clear the way. These small matters were naturally handled by them. It was impossible for Yang Hongwu to do it himself. Otherwise, they would have to deal with it. What were these people doing? Therefore, these trivial matters did not require Yang Hongwu's instructions. Tai Tulong and Yi Tianqing did it on their own accord. As for Shanhai Guanyue, being a woman, she was naturally different. The two did not have any objections. No. The Patriarch has ordered that no one is allowed to enter the Black Fiend Abyss for 3 months. Anyone who dares to barge in is an enemy of Black Fiend Town, the leader of the Black Fiend Guards said. His expression was solemn and his tone was cold. There was no room for negotiation. Suddenly. What? Tai Tulong and Yi Tianqing's expressions darkened. Yang Hongwu's eyes flashed coldly. If anyone tried to stop him from entering the Black Fiend Abyss to find the planar boat, they would be his enemy. An enemy that would not rest until one of them was dead. Why can't we enter? We have important matters to attend to and have no choice but to enter. Please make an exception. Tai Tulong was being polite, not because of the people in front of him, but because of the Patriarch. After all, the Patriarch was a half-step Dowlord. It could be said that he stood at the very peak of the Skyspan continent. They were far from being a match for him. No. This is an order. The Black Fiend Guard didn't give them any face. You really can't? Tai Tulong said coldly. If you can't, then we'll have to force our way in. How dare you? Are you trying to make an enemy of Black Fiend Town? You're strong, but this is Black Fiend Town, the Black Fiend Guard said coldly. Provoking Black Fiend Town is making an enemy of the Patriarch. You should think about the consequences. A group of people suddenly appeared in the distance, clustered around a youth. The youth's face was like jade, and he was incomparably handsome. He was also quite strong, having reached the ruler realm. Chapter 1949. Hey Tian. Tai Tulong squinted his eyes. This guy was the young lord of Black Evil Town, Hey Tian. Hey Tian's strength wasn't weak, but compared to Tai Tulong and the rest, he was still lacking. However, Hey Tian should have a powerful trump card. After all, he was the young lord of Black Evil Town. It was impossible that the Black Evil Patriarch didn't leave a life-saving trump card on him. Who are you people? How dare you be so arrogant in my Black Evil Town? One of He Tian's followers looked at Yang Hanwu and the rest and scolded in an arrogant tone. You're He Tian, the young lord of Black Evil Town? Yang Hanwu looked at him and asked. Who are you? How dare you speak to my young lord in such a manner? How dare you call him by his name? The follower was furious when he saw that Yang Hanwu didn't answer his question and instead called his young lord by his name. He pointed at Yang Hanwu. A cold light flashed in Yang Hanwu's eyes. A ray of sword light shot out from his eyes and cut off the follower's head. He Tian and the rest were enraged when they saw this. You're courting death. This person actually dared to kill his subordinate right in front of him. That was a provocation to him. Go, kill him for us. He Tian pointed at Yang Hanwu and roared in anger. Following He Tian's order, everyone rushed forward. However, Yang Hanwu and the rest weren't afraid at all. Tai Tulong and the rest were the same. In their eyes, they weren't afraid of the people in front of them. There was only one person who could make them worry, and that was the true master of Black Evil Town, the Black Evil Patriarch. As for the others, they didn't care at all. Young master, let us deal with these minions, Tai Tulong said. That's right, young master. These small fries don't need to be dealt with by the few of us. Yi Tianxing nodded. How arrogant. He Tian was furious. He knew these people and knew their strength. However, he didn't expect them to be so arrogant and impudent. They didn't put him in their eyes at all. How could he not be angry? This is my Black Fiend Town. How dare you act so presumptuously in my Black Fiend Town? If I want you to die, all of you will die. He Tian roared furiously. With a wave of his hand, a gigantic illusory figure appeared. This illusory figure contained a terrifying aura. It was definitely the aura of a pinnacle sovereign. Black Fiend Demonic Spirit. That's a Black Fiend Demonic Spirit. You guys sure have some guts. To think that you would even dare to refine a Black Fiend Demonic Spirit. That's a crime against the entire world. Looking at that horrifying illusory figure, the faces of Tai Tulong and the others changed. The aura of this thing was too terrifying. Of course, they had seen it before. It was the most terrifying existence in the Black Fiend Abyss. Back then, these Black Fiend demonic spirits had killed countless experts. They were from all the major forces. Now, Black Fiend Town dared to commit such a crime and even have a Black Fiend demonic spirit. How could they not be shocked? Moreover, this Black Fiend demonic spirit was obviously controlled by He Tian. If this news were to spread out, it would be a disaster. Could this Black Fiend demonic spirit be controlled by Black Fiend Town? Everyone knew that the owner of Black Fiend Town, the Black Fiend Old Ancestor, could devour evil aura. He could do whatever he wanted in the Black Fiend Abyss without any restrictions. More importantly, he could use the evil aura to cultivate. In other words, there were too few people in the Black Fiend Abyss who could go against the Black Fiend Old Ancestor. Even a half-step Dao Lord expert couldn't go against the Black Fiend Old Ancestor. Now that the Black Fiend Old Ancestor and the others had control over the Black Fiend demonic spirit, who else in the sky-reaching continent could be a match for the Black Fiend Old Ancestor? The people of Black Fiend Town were very clear about this. Naturally, the Black Fiend Old Ancestor was even more clear about this. However, this time, He Tian was infuriated. That was why he revealed such a trump card, the Black Fiend demonic spirit. Now that the secret of the Black Fiend demonic spirit had been exposed, it couldn't be leaked out. Therefore, he had to keep everyone in front of him here. He couldn't let them leave. At this moment, He Tian also realized his mistake. He was infuriated and lost his mind. However, it was only now that he regained his senses. Since this matter couldn't be changed, he could only try his best to make up for it. After the Black Fiend demonic spirit appeared, it was very aggressive and powerful. Yi Tianqing blocked the Black Fiend guards alone, while Tai Tulong and Shanhai Guanyue blocked the Black Fiend demonic spirit. At this moment, their strength hadn't fully recovered. Therefore, they needed 2 people to fight against the Black Fiend demonic spirit. Fortunately, they weren't in the Black Fiend abyss, so there wasn't such a terrifying murderous aura. Otherwise, the strength of the Black Fiend demonic spirit would be even more terrifying. However, even without the enhancement of the evil aura, the Black Fiend demonic spirit's strength was still quite formidable. Tai Tulong and Shanhai Guanyue joined forces and barely managed to resist it. Formation, activate! He Tian shouted. The entire Black Fiend town was shrouded in a layer of light curtain. The formation of Black Fiend town was activated. This was the reason why He Tian wanted to seal off Black Fiend town. He couldn't let Yan Hongwu and the others escape because he knew that if Yan Hongwu and the others escaped, the fact that Black Fiend town could control the Black Fiend demonic spirit would be exposed. Once that was exposed, it would be troublesome. Yan Hongwu looked at his actions with disdain. He didn't know how terrifying Yan Hongwu's attainments and formations were. A mere formation was nothing in Yan Hongwu's eyes. Not to mention the defensive formation of Black Fiend Town, even the more powerful sealing formation of Black Fiend Abyss couldn't withstand a single blow from Yan Hongwu. Of course, He Tian didn't know this. At this moment, the Black Fiend demonic spirit was entangled with Tai Tulong and Shanhai Guanyue, while Yi Tianqing was held back by the Black Fiend guards. Yan Hongwu, Pan and I and the other 2 were different. Their strength was only SOSO, and they hadn't even reached the sovereign realm. Therefore, he wasn't afraid at all. Kid, it's your turn now. You deserve to die, do you know that? In fact, the reason why Erebus wanted to stop Yan Hongwu and the others was because he had sensed the aura of the creation realm. He had a treasure-seeking medallion, which could detect the aura of creation realm supreme treasures. Yan Hongwu naturally had a creation supreme treasure on him. His aura was detected by He Tian's treasure-seeking token. In fact, this treasure-seeking token was obtained by the Black Fiend Patriarch in order to find the supreme treasure of the Sky Fiend Demon King. This time, He Tian felt the creation supreme treasure on Yan Hongwu and the others. Of course, he wouldn't let it go. Therefore, he sent people to stop Yan Hongwu and the others. However, he didn't expect that Yan Hongwu wouldn't give him any face. This made He Tian furious. Chapter 1950. Yan Hongwu looked at Erebus with a mocking expression. This guy thinks that I'm easy to bully because I'm weak. That's a big mistake. If I'm that weak, how could I have fought with the people of Black Evil Town so easily? Erebus was even more furious when he saw Yan Hongwu's mocking expression. This kid is just an early emperor. How dare he be so arrogant and mock me? This is unforgivable. As the young master of Black Evil Town, Erebus had never been looked down upon and mocked like this before. Yan Hongwu was extremely calm. He looked at Erebus and said, "Do you really think that you're invincible with a half-step Dao Lord in Black Evil Town? What a joke. I don't know if I'm invincible or not. But you're dead for sure." Erebus shouted and charged towards Yan Hongwu. He gathered his fist energy and threw a punch at Yan Hongwu. This punch contained all of his strength. His goal was to kill Yan Hongwu in one fell swoop. He could tell that Yan Hongwu was the core of Tai Tulong and the others. So long as he could defeat Yan Hongwu, he would be able to defeat him. As long as he killed this kid, the others would be nothing to worry about. Plus, he could get the supreme treasure on him. Not bad. But it's a pity that it's too weak in your hands. It's like a precious pearl covered in dust. Yang Hanwu sneered and dodged the punch. Then, a terrifying murderous aura erupted from Yang Hanwu's body. He was like the god of death. This terrifying murderous aura had condensed into a physical form. Naturally, he was using the 10-direction killing fist that he was extremely familiar with. Right now, the might of the 10-direction killing fist was extremely frightening. That domineering killing intent instantly shrouded Erebus' body, transforming into terrifying killing sabers. Damn it! Erebus shouted angrily with his eyes wide open. He had never seen such a terrifying murderous aura before. It was unexpected that a mere early emperor could release such overbearing murderous aura. Moreover, Yang Hongwu's strength was extremely terrifying. Yang Hongwu's strength had far exceeded his expectations. 10 directions killing fist, descent of the killing god. Along with Yang Hongwu's furious roar, a terrifying fist force erupted in an instant. Punch after punch blasted towards He Tian. Under such a terrifying fist force, it seemed as though the entire space was about to collapse. That was enough to show the power of the blow. He was so powerful. Seeing this, Erebus had no other choice. This fist technique was way too domineering. He had no way of dodging it at all. Since he couldn't dodge it, he could only face it head-on. He Tian roared and punched out with both his fists. The fists of both sides collided. Yang Hongwu's killing fist of 10 directions contained a frightening amount of killing intent. On the other hand, the fist skill that Erebus cultivated contained a malevolent aura. When the malevolent aura was condensed, it was extremely domineering. However, what happened next left Erebus dumbfounded. The person who collided with him suddenly disappeared. He couldn't believe that the person he was fighting with was just an illusion. If it was just an illusion, then what was with the terrifying killing intent just now? After all, the killing intent had transformed into battle sabers that attacked his body. In the next moment, before he could react, he felt a terrifying sense of danger behind him. However, it was already too late for him to react. There was no way to avoid it. Yang Hongwu's fist had already landed on his back in an instant. With a crack, Erebus was instantly sent flying. There was a bloody hole on his back. This punch was too domineering. Moreover, the damage of this punch was far more than that. Yang Hongwu's punch didn't just condense killing intent. It also incorporated the hellfire and the power of fortune. Yang Hongwu naturally guessed that there was a reason why this guy was targeting him and obstructing him. No one would target someone for no reason. Moreover, it was a powerful person. This was extremely unwise for any faction. It was rational. After all, Tai Tulong and Shanhai Guanyue were both late-stage sovereigns. They were well aware of this fact. Provoking such a powerful enemy wouldn't do them any good. However, Erebus just had to do so. Even if Black Demon Town was extremely powerful, it wasn't worth it. Therefore, Yang Hongwu could almost guess Erebus's motive. He must be after the treasures on him. Could it be that this guy has a fragment of the Life Great Seal? No, that's not very likely. If that's the case, I'll definitely be able to sense it. In that case, there was only one possibility. Although Erebus didn't have a fragment of the Life Great Seal, he could sense that I have a supreme treasure of fortune on me. The reason he attacked me like this was because he wanted to get the supreme treasure on me. Because of this, Yang Hongwu didn't show any mercy. Even if he knew that Erebus was powerful and had a half-step Tao Lord, he still wanted to fight. Moreover, he wanted to kill him from the start. After injuring Erebus, Yang Hongwu didn't stop attacking. He wanted to follow up with another attack. Erebus, you're dead meat. A cold light shot out from Yang Hongwu's eyes. In an instant, a terrifying furnace appeared. It was the devouring furnace. Not only that, but the blazing flames also sealed off Erebus's escape route. Erebus's expression changed drastically. He was all too familiar with the power of the flames. It was a part of the power that was raging wildly in his body. Karmic fire. Damn it. It's the karmic fire of the Red Lotus. He couldn't do anything. At this moment, he was already regretting it. However, regret was meaningless. "Kid, that's enough. If you stop now, I can let you go," said Erebus. He knew that he couldn't win now. He was far from being a match for Yan Hanwu. Although Yan Hanwu was a realm lower than him, he couldn't defeat him. "You want me to stop?" Yan Hanwu laughed. "You must be dreaming. Do you think I'm a fool? In this situation, you're meat on my chopping board. If I want to kill you, it'll be as easy as flipping my hand. Moreover, if I let you go now, will you let it go?" "No, no. If you stop now, I swear that I won't attack you again. Don't you want to enter the Black Fiend Abyss? I can even give you a treasure that can resist the fiendish aura so that you can be safe in the Black Fiend Abyss. You can move freely in the Black Fiend Abyss." Erebus quickly shook his head and explained. Chapter 1951. That's good stuff. Yang Hanwu narrowed his eyes. This was indeed a good item. Although it wasn't of much use to him, it would be very helpful to others. Especially to Tai Tulong and the others, if they could have such a thing. If Tai Tulong and Tai Tulong had such a treasure, they would be able to maximize their strength. Yang Hanwu paused for a moment before continuing, "But I don't care about it. It's just ominous chi. It can't stop me." As he spoke, Yang Hanwu's aura exploded once more. This time, it wasn't the murderous aura from before. Instead, it was ominous chi. This ominous chi was even scarier, as though it came from the 9 nether hell. It was terrifying. At this moment, Erebus was completely flabbergasted. He had not expected this at all. Not only was the other party unafraid of the infernal chi, he had even used it to threaten him. Not only did the infernal chi not pose any threat to him, it might even turn out to be a great cultivation ground for him. In fact, even their old ancestor could use ominous chi to cultivate, but he had to borrow the power of the Black Fiend demonic spirit. However, Yang Hanwu could use ominous chi on his own. That was just too heaven-defying. "No, that's not right. This must be an illusion." Hei Tian still couldn't believe it. "Don't try to fool me. That's impossible. You must have some treasure with you that has stored some ominous chi. Is that so?" Yang Hanwu laughed. Then, he waved his hand, and another ball of ominous chi appeared. Instantly, it surrounded Hei Tian, shrouding him within. Damn it. Hei Tian had no choice. This ominous chi was extremely dangerous to him. If the Black Fiend demonic spirit was around, he wouldn't be afraid at all. However, the problem now was that the Black Fiend demonic spirit was entangled. "You can go to hell now." Yang Hanwu threw a punch at Hei Tian. This punch was extremely powerful. At this moment, Hei Tian couldn't resist at all. Not only was he shrouded in ominous chi, but he was also shrouded in karmic fire. Coupled with the suppression of the devouring furnace, if this punch landed on him, he would definitely die. "Lu. Little brother, how about giving me some face and sparing my life?" At this moment, a voice came from afar. Then, a figure appeared not far away from Yang Hanwu. Seeing who it was, the people of Black Fiend Town were relieved. This person was none other than the old ancestor of Black Fiend Town, the Black Fiend Old Ancestor. His strength was incomparably powerful, and he was the true source of Black Fiend Town's confidence. He was like a mountain. With him around, no one dared to act impudently in Black Fiend Town. Now, Yang Hanwu and his group dared to behave atrociously in Black Fiend Town. Wasn't this a provocation to the Black Fiend Patriarch? Now that he had appeared, the people from the Black Fiend Town were all overjoyed. However, the expressions of Tai Tulong and the others changed enormously. That's because. Yang Hongwu's fist did not stop at all. In the next moment, it landed heavily on Erebus' head. Bam! Like a watermelon, Hei Tian's head was smashed apart by Yang Hongwu's punch. The moment his soul appeared, it was like a flame. Even his soul was incinerated. At this moment, Hei Tian was deader than dead. "You! Damn you! The moment the Black Demon Grandmaster caught sight of this, he was so pissed that his entire body was quivering. What guts! To think that someone would dare to kill Haitian right in front of his face. That was a clear provocation to him. Everyone was stunned at this scene. They could not believe their eyes. The other party killed Haitian right after the old ancestor appeared. This was definitely a provocation to the old ancestor. What gave him the guts to do this right in front of the old ancestor? How dare he provoke the old ancestor? At this moment, the enraged old ancestor disappeared from where he was. In the next moment, he appeared before Yan Hongwu. Raising his hand, he slashed out at Yan Hongwu. A tyrannical saber chi shot out. This was an attack from a half-step Tao Lord. The horrifying aura caused everyone to stare at that figure. However, Yan Hongwu was not afraid at all. Even though the old ancestor was a half-step Tao Lord and exuded a horrifying aura, this attack was still extremely domineering. No one present dared to take it head-on. Even Tai Tulong and Shanhai Guanren. Even if the two of them were at their peak, they would not dare to take on a half-step Tao Lord like the old ancestor head-on. For them, this attack was definitely hard to defend against. However, Yan Hongwu was extremely confident. He was confident that victory was within his grasp. He was not worried at all and did not back off at all. Bam! The most exciting moment had arrived. To the people of Black Evil Town, they all thought that Yan Hongwu was dead for sure. This brat dared to make a move against the old ancestor. This was simply courting death. On the other hand, Tai Tulong, Shanhai Guanren, and Yi Tianxing were extremely nervous. They could not wait to add their strength to Yan Hongwu. For them, if Yan Hongwu died, they would definitely die too. Therefore, Yan Hongwu was also very important to them. He absolutely could not die. If something happened to him, they would be in big trouble. At this moment, they were paying attention to the attack between Yan Hongwu and the old ancestor. At the same time, they were also attacking crazily. They hoped to kill both the Black Fiend Guards and the Black Fiend Devil Spirit in the shortest time possible. However, the possibility was too low. After all, this was the Black Fiend Guards and the Black Fiend Devil Spirit. The Black Fiend Devil Spirit was too strange and too powerful. Therefore, they could only hope that Yan Hongwu could stop the old ancestor. As for defeating or even killing the old ancestor, it was impossible. They did not even dare to think about it. Even if Yan Hongwu was so powerful, the possibility was still too small. It was too small. However, Pan and I and Anya Shen trusted Yan Hongwu very much. They knew that Yan Hongwu must be confident if he dared to do this. Otherwise, he would have already brought them away. In the next moment, after the two of them collided, a shocking scene appeared. The one who was sent flying was not Yan Hongwu, but the old ancestor. Impossible! The people of Black Fiend Town shouted. They could not believe what they were seeing. The one who was sent flying was actually the old ancestor. That brat was actually fine. It was unbelievable. Chapter 1952. In fact, Yan Hongwu seemed to have the upper hand as he even managed to push back a half-step Tao Lord. However, he knew very well that the reason he was able to push back a half-step Tao Lord was because this fellow wasn't his real body. His real body was just a clone. His real body was still in the Black Fiend Abyss. Yan Hongwu didn't want to offend the Black Fiend Patriarch. After all, that fellow was also in the Black Fiend Abyss. Once he entered the Black Fiend Abyss, he would definitely have to face the Black Fiend Patriarch. If that happened, it would be very troublesome for Yan Hongwu. However, now that things had come to this point, there was no other way. Since he had already offended the Black Fiend Patriarch, he might as well go all out. Now that Haitian had been killed by him, he, Black Fiend Town, and the Black Fiend Patriarch were now mortal enemies. There was no way to resolve this. So what? Little bastard, you're courting death. If I don't kill you today, I won't be the Lord of Black Fiend Town. The Black Fiend Patriarch was extremely furious. His expression was almost the same as Hation's arrogant tone. The Black Fiend Patriarch charged forward once again. Although he was only a clone, it was still a clone of a half-step Tao Lord. Although it wasn't as strong as his real body, it was still very terrifying. It was definitely comparable to a late-stage Sovereign Realm expert. Die! The Black Fiend Patriarch launched another attack. This time, he unleashed his strength to the maximum. However, what happened next surprised him. Yang Hanwu didn't fight him head-on. Instead, he disappeared on the spot. Damn it! The Black Fiend Patriarch was even more furious after his attack missed. This little bastard was so despicable that he didn't want to fight him head-on. There was no other way. If this continued, it would be very disadvantageous for him. After all, he was only a clone. The power contained in this clone was limited. It wasn't like his real body. Yang Hanwu also knew the Black Demon Patriarch's weakness. After all, it was only an incarnation. If it was the real body, Yang Hanwu would not hesitate at all. He would just leave. Why would he be stupid enough to fight against it? However, Yang Hanwu wasn't going to play around with the Black Demon Patriarch. Since the Black Demon Patriarch had already become his enemy, he had to kill this clone. Once this clone was killed, the Black Demon Patriarch's real body would suffer a huge backlash. Because if that was the case, he would have more confidence in meeting him in the Black Fiend Abyss. The Black Demon Patriarch really wanted to kill Yang Hanwu, but Yang Hanwu didn't fight him directly. He kept dodging his attacks. However, this allowed the people of Black Fiend Town to breathe a sigh of relief. It turned out that their own old ancestor had not been defeated. It was just a momentary mistake, and it was not a big deal. Wasn't that brat beaten to the point where he didn't dare to fight back? This was enough to prove that this kid was no match for the Fiend Black Demon Patriarch. Therefore, they didn't have to worry anymore. Because of this, they felt more confident. However, what they didn't know was that the Black Demon Patriarch was very anxious at this moment. After all, he was only a clone. Moreover, if he couldn't take down Taimo, it would expose the fact that he was only a clone. That would be troublesome. One should know that there were 3 other Supremes on the other side. Tai Tulong and the other 2 were very powerful. If he really fought with them, he wouldn't be able to withstand their attacks unless his real body came. Yang Hanwu was also very clear about the Black Demon Patriarch's situation. The Black Demon Patriarch wanted to kill him, but didn't Yang Hanwu also want to kill him? Both of them were looking for an opportunity. In fact, Yang Hanwu had the upper hand because he knew his opponent's weakness very well. If it wasn't for the fact that he didn't want to pay a huge price, Yang Hanwu would have killed him directly. Little bastard, don't dodge if you have the guts. The Black Demon Patriarch was very anxious. After all, he was only a clone and wasn't as strong as his real body. He also didn't have the confidence to stay calm. All right. A cold light flashed in Yang Hanwu's eyes. He didn't want to delay any longer. Although this guy was only a clone, his real body would definitely suffer a backlash if he killed him. Moreover, the people in Black Demon Town didn't know that he was a clone. This was because he was fighting against a clone. Once he killed it, it would be a huge blow to Black Evil Town. At that time, he could plunder all the treasures in Black Evil Town. After saying that, Yang Hanwu leaped into the air. He stood in the void with a huge seal in his hand. It was the life seal. Terrifying energy was gathering. Above his head, there was a terrifying furnace. This was the devouring furnace. The surrounding spiritual energy was being devoured crazily by it. The spiritual energy within 100,000 feet radius was being sucked dry. Seeing this, the Black Demon Patriarch's face changed drastically. Everyone in Black Demon Town was stunned. Too terrifying, too powerful. Just what kind of background did this guy have? He was devouring spiritual energy to cultivate in the middle of a battle. Ordinary people wouldn't dare to do this. Even if they wanted to recover their cultivation and injuries, they would do it secretly. It was impossible for them to do it so crazily. Moreover, there was the Black Demon Town's mountain protecting formation. There were restrictions in the formation. It was impossible to devour spiritual energy without restraint. If one could devour spiritual energy so crazily in the formation, wouldn't that mean that the Black Demon Town's mountain protecting formation was useless? In that case, wouldn't the formation of Black Evil Town have no effect at all? Would anyone be able to cultivate so crazily in Black Evil Town? It would be a huge blow to the cultivators in Black Demon Town. However, what they didn't know was that the Black Demon Town's mountain protecting formation was under the control of Yan Hongwu. He took out the devouring furnace and the life seal. He wanted to kill the Black Demon Patriarch's clone directly. In fact, at this moment, Yan Hongwu hadn't completely taken control of the Black Demon Town's mountain protecting formation. However, the moment Yan Hongwu launched his attack, the entire Black Demon Town's mountain protecting formation was under his control. With a thought, he struck out a seal. The entire Black Demon Town's mountain protecting formation was activated in an instant. Moreover, it changed from a defensive formation to a terrifying offensive formation. Chapter 1953. This was extremely terrifying. To the crowd, this was definitely a disaster. However, the fiend Black Patriarch could see that this was all because of Yan Hongwu. This guy was not afraid of the baleful aura. He was the one who released the baleful aura. Moreover, the entire formation of Black Fiend Town was no longer under his control. This was too strange. He knew very well that he had absolute control over this formation. But now, he had been stripped of his control. What did this mean? This kid in front of him was too strange. He knew his own strength very well. Even a half-step Tao Lord who was on par with him would not be able to take away his control silently. Moreover, the other party was a master. A powerful formation master. It wasn't that there weren't any half-step Tao Lord array masters, but there was only one such person in the entire Skyspan continent. Moreover, he wasn't strong enough to take control of the array without anyone noticing. In fact, if he wanted to break the array, he would have to. However, this brat had managed to accomplish it without anyone noticing. Old thing, you're just a clone. How dare you be so arrogant? Do you think I can't kill you? Yan Hongwu looked at the fiend Black Patriarch and said. At this moment, Yan Hongwu had sealed the surroundings. The people outside could only see the two of them fighting. They could not hear what they were talking about. Therefore, Yan Hongwu was not worried. As long as he killed this clone, the people of Black Fiend Town would definitely think that he had killed the fiend Black Patriarch. In that case, he would be able to easily take control of Black Fiend Town. In fact, Yan Hongwu did not care about Black Fiend Town. However, there were still many treasures in Black Fiend Town. At least, compared to Skystar City, Iron Mountain City, and other cities, the treasures in Black Fiend Town were definitely more. More, no less. The fiend Black Patriarch turned pale with fright. He looked at Yan Hongwu and said, "How do you know?" However, on second thought, there was nothing strange about this. This kid's origin was strange, and his methods were even more strange. He could silently control the formation of the Black Fiend Town, and could see that he was just an incarnation, so it was not enough for him to do anything. How strange. But to the Black Demon Patriarch, this meant big trouble. If it was the real Yan Hongwu, he wouldn't be worried. He had enough strength. But now, Yan Hongwu knew that he was just a clone. That was why he dared to be so presumptuous. He even wanted to kill him. This brat was too bold. Judging from his expression and tone, he seemed to be very confident in killing him. This was what worried him the most. Although he was only an incarnation of the evil Black Patriarch, he did not want to die. After all, who would want to die? Brat, since you know that I'm just a clone, how dare you be so presumptuous? My true body will return soon. When that time comes, you will die without a burial ground. The Black Fiend Patriarch looked at Yan Hongwu and said, "Let's talk about it when your true body comes. The one I want to kill now is your incarnation, A terrifying cold light burst out from Yan Hongwu's eyes. This cold light instantly rushed out and attacked the incarnation of the Black Demon Patriarch. The Black Demon Patriarch was caught off guard. He didn't expect that Yan Hongwu would have another powerful attack. It was a soul attack. He was just an incarnation and his soul was his weakness. This body was refined by his true body at a great cost. Naturally, it was very strong. However, the soul was only a small part of it. Even the memory it had was less than 1,000th of the memories of his true body. Therefore, this incarnation of his was too weak. It was only equivalent to an early emperor. However, Yan Hongwu's soul attack was extremely powerful. It was so terrifying that even a half-step Tao Lord might not be comparable to it. In addition, this attack was launched suddenly. The soul of the Black Demon Patriarch's incarnation was severely injured in an instant. If another attack was launched, it would be annihilated in an instant. You brat, you can't kill me. If you kill me, my true body won't let you go. My true body is now cultivating and is about to break through. Once it breaks through, it will become a Tao Lord. It will be an invincible existence in the Skyspan continent. Do you know what it means to offend a Tao Lord? The incarnation of the Black Demon Patriarch held on and said to Yan Hongwu, "At that time, there will be no place for you in the Skyspan continent. As a Tao Lord, an expert's divine sense can cover the entire Skyspan continent in an instant. No matter where you hide, you won't be able to avoid it." Yan Hongwu laughed when he heard this. He looked at the incarnation of the Black Demon Patriarch and said, "Naive. You're too naive. Besides, even if I don't kill you, your true body won't attack me. Won't take revenge? What a joke. Besides, even if your true body breaks through, so what? Do you think I don't know that the laws of the Skyspan continent don't allow Tao Lords to exist? This is Tao Lord Zhiji's supreme treasure, the Zhigu Divine Palace. The reason this world exists is probably because Tao Lord Zhigu wanted to suppress some terrifying experts, right? Therefore, it's absolutely impossible for a true Tao Lord to appear in this world. Once they appear, they will be taken away or suppressed. There's no other possibility." Although Yan Hongwu wasn't really clear about this, he could still guess. The laws of this world were extremely restrictive. There was no way for true Tao Lords to exist. If a Tao Lord were to appear, the balance of this world would be broken. Think about it, as the master of this world, Tao Lord Halberd. How could Tao Lord Zhigu allow this to happen? You! The incarnation of the Black Demon Patriarch was stunned. He hadn't expected Yan Hongwu to know so much. He stared at Yan Hongwu and said, "Who are you exactly? Let me know before I die." At this time, he knew that he was going to die. Yan Hongwu would not let him go. If he was in Yan Hongwu's position, he would also not let the enemy go if he encountered such a situation. If he let the enemy go, it was tantamount to letting the tiger go back to the mountain. No one would do that. Chapter 1954. Patriarch. Patriarch has been killed. When the people of Black Fiend Town saw this scene, they felt as if the whole world was about to collapse. As the strongest person in Black Fiend Town, the Patriarch was actually killed. This caused them to completely collapse. In their eyes, the Black Fiend Patriarch was an invincible existence. It was impossible for him to lose. Even when 3 half-step Tao Lords came to cause trouble for Black Fiend Town, the Black Fiend Patriarch was still calm and unruffled. But now, the Black Fiend Patriarch was actually defeated by a nameless brat. Almost everyone couldn't believe that the Patriarch had been killed. The Patriarch was the pillar of Black Fiend Town. Once he died, Black Fiend Town would completely collapse and become the meat on the chopping board. Heuni and the Black Fiend Devil Spirit also stopped attacking at this time. All of this happened too suddenly. It was too terrifying. Impossible. Ancestor can't be dead. This is fake. This must be fake. That brat must have used some sort of trick, or Ancestor is deliberately deceiving that brat. Ancestor is definitely not dead. Hayuni shouted. As the leader of the Black Fiend Guards, he certainly knew what this meant. Once the news of the Patriarch's death spread out, the entire Black Fiend town would be finished. They wouldn't have a good ending either. Therefore, they had to stabilize the situation. Whether the Patriarch was killed or not, they couldn't let all of this be exposed. He didn't want to die. However, stabilizing the situation was easier said than done. It would be fine if the Black Demon Old Ancestor was still alive. However, if the Black Demon Old Ancestor was really killed, then they would be in big trouble. That brat's strength was too terrifying. It wasn't something they could resist. If he wanted to do something to Black Fiend Town, who could stop him? Thinking of this, Hayuni had a headache. He couldn't even stop Tianqing now. There were still two terrifying experts on the other side. One was Tai Tulong, and the other was Shan Hai Guanyue. He was very clear about their strength. This time, although the strength of these two people was far less tyrannical than what he had seen before, who knew if these two people were concealing their cultivation? Therefore, it was a big problem now. However, he soon received a voice transmission from the Black Fiend demonic spirit. Hayuni, the old ancestor is still alive. Don't worry. The one that was killed by that brat earlier was merely a clone of the old ancestor. At first, the Black Demon demonic spirit was shocked, but he soon recovered. In fact, he was the battle spirit of the Black Demon Old Ancestor and was subdued by the Black Demon Old Ancestor. If the Black Demon Old Ancestor died, he would naturally die too. However, the problem now was that he was fine, so the Black Demon demonic spirit understood that the previous one was just black. It was just an incarnation of Old Ancestor Sha. Although the death of one of his avatars would cause quite a bit of backlash to the Black Demon Forefather, it wasn't a big problem. The Black Demon Forefather's real body was fine. Are you sure? Hayuni asked. He didn't want to die, but he had to be sure. After all, everyone had seen how the Black Demon Ancestor was killed. As for the Black Demon Spirit, although he knew about its existence, he didn't really know about it, so he didn't know. The Black Demon Spirit was the battle spirit of the Black Demon Old Ancestor. I'm the battle spirit of the Old Ancestor. If the Old Ancestor was killed, then I will definitely die. Now that I'm fine, the Old Ancestor is also fine. The one that was killed was just a clone of the Old Ancestor. The Black Demon Spirit explained. Hayuni felt confident after hearing this. He originally thought that the Black Demon Spirit was just a powerful subordinate of the Old Ancestor. He didn't expect that the Black Demon Spirit was actually the Old Ancestor's battle spirit. It seemed that the Old Ancestor's strength was really unfathomable. Hayuni was relieved after hearing this. If the Black Demon Old Ancestor was really killed, he would also consider his own problem. After all, he didn't want to die. However, since the Black Demon Patriarch was still alive, he didn't need to think about anything else. He was very clear about the Black Demon Patriarch's strength. As the leader of the Black Demon Guard, the most powerful force under the Black Demon Patriarch's command, he was still loyal to the Black Demon Patriarch. If the Old Ancestor was dead, he wouldn't have chosen to betray the Old Ancestor. Everyone, don't panic. The Old Ancestor is fine. That kid is just an early-stage emperor. Who is the Old Ancestor? He's a half-step Dao Lord. Think about it. Can a mere early-stage emperor fight against the Old Ancestor? Don't even think about it. It's simply a fantasy to say that he killed the Old Ancestor. It's a joke. Hayuni shouted. Yes, yes. It must be so. The Old Ancestor won't die. Lord Cloud One is correct. The Patriarch is so powerful that even 3 half-step Dao Lords weren't able to defeat him. From this, one can see just how powerful the Patriarch is. How can a mere eternal emperor be considered the Patriarch? The Old Ancestor's opponent? This is just a tactic that the Old Ancestor deliberately used. In other words, the Old Ancestor is testing us. One of them said. Yes, the Old Ancestor won't die. Another person nodded. In an instant, the people of Black Fiend Town calmed down. They were no longer as panicked as before. No, everyone saw that kid's strength. He's definitely not just an emperor. If he's just an emperor, how could the young master be killed? At this moment, another person spoke. His words were full of doubt. That's right. That's true. Everyone here has witnessed young master's strength. No matter what, he was a ruler. Yet, he was easily killed by that brat. This is something that cannot be concealed. Hearing that person's words, the others began to echo in agreement. That's right. In an instant, many people became worried. This is a test the old ancestor gave us. The young master is naturally not the real one. How could the real young master be so weak? How could a sovereign be killed by an emperor? That's impossible. You've all seen early-stage emperor warriors. Can they kill a sovereign? Heiyuni was furious. He was anxious, but there was nothing he could do. He could only explain. He naturally knew what these people were thinking. If he didn't know that the old ancestor's clone had just been killed, he would have reacted the same way. This was normal. What Heiyuni said is correct. However, that boy's strength is simply too valiant. When Yang Hanwu made his move, he actually killed a lot of people. Many of these people were very strong. There was no doubt about that. Chapter 1955. An incarnation? Like I said, the patriarch will be fine. As long as the patriarch returns, he'll be dead for sure. Hearing Heiyuni's words, the people of Black Fiend Town regained their confidence. As long as the patriarch was fine, they would be confident. After all, the patriarch was the stabilizing force of Black Fiend Town. As long as he wasn't dead, everything would be fine. However, what they didn't know was that even if the patriarch rushed over, it would still be too late. Right now, the entire Black Fiend Town was under Yang Hongwu's control. The array formation to enter the Black Fiend Abyss had also been completely sealed off by Yang Hongwu. Without him opening it, no one would be able to enter or leave Black Fiend Town. Therefore, Yang Hongwu was confident of victory. Unless another half-step Dao Lord appeared to help Black Fiend Town, no one else could do anything. So what if he's not dead? Yang Hongwu said. If I can kill an incarnation of the patriarch, I can also kill his true body. Looking at the people of Black Fiend Town, Yang Hongwu's eyes flashed coldly. If you don't want to die, submit to me. Otherwise, all of you will die. What a big tone. Heiyuni was infuriated. Who do you think you are? You're just an emperor. When the patriarch returns, it'll be your death. Ha, what a joke. I've already killed the patriarch's incarnation and injured his true body. Now, he's probably hiding like a tortoise, not daring to come out. Even if he dares to come out, I can still kill him. Yang Hongwu laughed. He didn't put them in his eyes at all. Bastard, go and kill that kid. Don't care about the others. Heiyuni and the Black Fiend Devil Spirit were furious. They didn't expect that the patriarch would be humiliated like this. In their hearts, the patriarch was a god. Nothing would happen to him. But now, he was humiliated like this. How could they stand it? Not only Heiyuni and the Black Fiend Devil Spirit, but the other people of Black Fiend Town were also furious. In their eyes, the patriarch was the strongest and couldn't be humiliated. Yang Hongwu looked at the aggressive crowd from Black Fiend Town, not putting them in his eyes at all. Tai Tulong, all of you step back. I'll deal with them, Yang Hongwu said. Tai Tulong, Shanhai Guanyue, and the others were shocked. They didn't expect Yang Hongwu to say such a thing. Was he going to fight the entire Black Evil Town alone? This was too arrogant. Even without the Black Demon Old Ancestor, the strength of the Black Demon Town was not weak. It should be known that the strength of the entire Black Demon Town could be ranked in the top 10 in the sky-reaching continent. No matter how powerful the Black Demon Patriarch was, it was impossible for Black Demon Town to enter the top 10. Young Master. Shanhai Guanyue was a little worried. He looked at Yang Hongwu and wondered if he had heard wrongly. It's all right. Yang Hanwu knew what Shanhai Guanyue was thinking. He smiled and said, "They're all chickens and pottery dogs. They're not worth mentioning. I can easily kill them all by myself." Upon hearing the words of Yang Hanwu, everyone from Black Fiend Town was infuriated. This guy was looking down on them completely. To think that he would dare to take on all of them by himself. Even if a half-step Tao Lord were to come forth, they would not dare to utter such words. One should know that there was a powerful existence like the Black Fiend demonic spirit among them. Although the Black Fiend demonic spirit's cultivation was only equivalent to a late-stage sovereign realm expert, in fact, if there was no way to deal with it, it was almost invincible. Unless a half-step Tao Lord expert attacked, no one could deal with him. "Leave this brat to me." The Black Demon Spirit's eyes flashed coldly as he said coldly. After saying that, the Black Demon Spirit soared into the sky and ran towards Yang Hanwu. He was very confident. Although Yang Hanwu was extraordinary, his cultivation realm was only at the Emperor realm. He was a late-stage sovereign. How could he deal with a mere emperor? No matter how strong he was, a martial artist of the same realm would not be that strong. "You're just a demon spirit. How dare you be so arrogant? Since you dare to come first, I'll kill you first." Yang Hanwu snorted coldly and waved his hand. A terrifying light burst out and instantly formed a seal. This seal was in front of the Black Fiend demon spirit. Before the Black Demon Spirit could react, he was trapped. Then, a flame appeared. Heiyuni had seen this flame before. He quickly warned, "Be careful. That's karmic fire." However, it was already too late. The trapped Black Fiend demonic spirit found out that even if he transformed into a demonic spirit, he could not escape from the seal. Moreover, the flame had already entered the sealed space. Instantly, it burned. The Black Fiend demonic spirit was not only a demon, but also a demonic spirit. The Black Fiend demonic spirit's karma was extremely terrifying. He had killed countless people to accumulate his strength. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to reach such a realm. Therefore, when the karmic fire landed on his body, it burned fiercely. It didn't give him a chance at all. At this time, the Black Demon Spirit cried out miserably. He wanted to break the seal frantically, but there was no way. He could only let the karmic fire burn wildly in the seal. If there was no other power, the Black Demon Spirit could still survive. However, Yang Hanwu wouldn't give him a chance. At this time, Yang Hanwu had already summoned the Devouring Furnace. The Devouring Furnace had already enveloped the Black Demon Spirit. At this moment, he couldn't resist at all. The Devouring Furnace crazily devoured his strength, whether it was evil chi or demonic fire. The devil chi was completely devoured and refined by Yang Hanwu, turning into his own power. "Damn beast! Let me out if you have the guts!" The Black Demon Spirit shouted. However, Yang Hanwu didn't care about him. This guy's strength was very strong. Devouring his strength made Yang Hanwu feel very good. His cultivation base was increasing rapidly. It had been a long time since he felt so good. If he could do it a few more times, he could even break through to the sovereign realm. Of course, this Black Demon Spirit could only increase his cultivation base by a small realm. Reaching the second level of the Emperor realm was probably his limit. However, he had to admit that the speed of improvement was very fast. You're tuning into the Mythic Realms YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.